Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the FSR World Championship and the new season. It's the FSR Thrustmaster World Championship here from Australia at the Melbourne Grand Prix circuit. A wonderful place for racing. And alongside me once again this year is Chris de Jong. And Chris, we're looking forward to a brand new season, some brand new drivers, brand new liveries as well, and even some brand new teams.
And even some brand new teams, indeed so. And yeah, we're gonna kick off in Australia like it should be. I mean, starting a season in Australia is always the thing you want. And what's a better opportunity than to have the WC, like the World Championship, to do it. We saved the best for last, I hope. We had Ace yesterday, Pro just 2 hours ago, or 1 hour ago, and now it's up to the big boys to see who is fastest of this weekend.
Yes, now we've got I have got the driver lineups with me. Unfortunately, they're not as they're going to be for the rest of the season entirely, because we do have a problem with Morgan Moran yesterday. Very unfortunately, he's not racing today. He is there for NetRex this year, but his wheel blew up, basically. It was quite dramatic. He was describing it as smoking and everything yesterday on Facebook.
The G25 of Morant couldn't handle the Morant swag, I think. I think that's it. But so yeah, it blew up, and we've got Danny van der Niet substituting him, and Carlos Martin has a broken arm, so Gennaro Saliento is subbing him. So no Susie Wolf here. We have proper drivers.
Yeah, okay. Van der Niet and Celiento, the interesting lineup. So will NetRex be as strong today, Chris? What's your thoughts on that? They're not the standard drivers, but we know that they can be fast from the lower series. What are we expecting from them?
I will expect a win from Danny van der Niet and nothing less. No, but seriously, it would be really nice if Danny would get some points. He had a horrible race yesterday. He does have the pace. If I look at the statistics right now, but I know everyone can go a little bit faster than this. I really don't know. It's really hard to say. We have so many new names, relatively new names into the WC, like Cuba Brzezinski, who was obviously there last year in Pro and did an outstanding job. Now he's in the big league. So yeah, it's really interesting to see what they will make up for it.
Yeah, we've also got Twister. They've got the main Twister team is David Greco and Jim Parisis, and the second team, Berliak and Patel, which I believe is exactly as last year, so that's not changed at all. They've got exactly the same drivers. Then we move on to ACR, who again I think is exactly the same drivers as John-Eric Saxon and Peter Helmbro, Avid Chronic Racing. Then we have a brand new team in BBR, that's BBR Life 4 Racing, an Italian team. Bit of Italian passion there coming into FSR, with Enrico Di Loreto, who I don't know much about, but we do know a lot about Marco Conti, Chris, and we know that he's a strong driver.
Yeah, well, Enrico too. Enrico was last year's teammate of David Greco in SRZ, I believe. So Enrico, I raced with him. He's a really tight competitor, maybe 1 or 2 tenths slower than Greco in SRZ. Of course, we have a better mod here with FSR now, but we would see.
Nice plug.
Nah, but I think he's up for a P of a top 10 position anyway. So I got my eye on him, but I'm really curious what Cuba Brzezinski can do. What's the gap between last year's Pro and this year's WC? Although obviously everyone made a jump last winter in terms of performance. I should hope. So. Not yet a 21 on the board.
Have Eventer with Francesco Bigazzi and Dian Kostadinov.
Yeah, keeping it Russian, I guess. I mean, couldn't hurt anyone. Some Russians on the track, right? So.
No, we haven't got any Russians at the moment. But if you are Russian, and you're out there watching FSR, please feel free to join www.formulasimracing.net. If you put it into Google, there is a hyphen, by the way, between Formula and SimRacing, just so that you don't get lost. We've got some other drivers in there. Norbert Leitner moving up full-time to the World Championship this year. I think he did do a couple of races in World Championship last year for a Faster Than Speed, but he's there permanently now with Patrick de Witt. We have Go Speed have got Johnny Simon and Jene Simoncic in the cars. And Blair Disley and Jeroen Kweekel are driving today for Go Speed Engineering, which is what Ash Racing was, just so you don't get confused. Mad Cape, we've got Daniel Kiss and Jarl Teyen. Another new team in Front Row Racing. They owned by Liverpudlian Peter Bell and Cooper Brzezinski and Michi Hoyer, even, are driving for them. And then Emotion Grand Prix, which I'm not going to say anything about because they're my own team and I don't want to be accused of bias, which today will include Trevor Vavroski, who is an iRacing driver and is coming over to try his hand at R Factor 2, and Eros Masuli today.
Definitely a promising grid, even though Morand isn't here and Bono House is watching from his television, watching all the action. He's
so
probably
then,
sitting.
Chris, it's going to be a bit more difficult to predict, is this one, isn't it? We've got no Morgan Moran this year. Obviously, Bono Huis has retired for the time being from FSR. He may well be back, but he's gone 5 successive World Championships and decided I'll let someone else have a go. So he's not here this year. So it's a bit more hard to predict today, with Morgan Moran, of course, having that wheel trouble as well. So what's your thoughts for this race?
Well, my thoughts are pure and simple. Let the best man win. And let's see who did their homework the best the past few weeks. I don't think it's really a problem having the perspective of who's going to win and who's not going to win. It's much better to have an unpredictable race. And
absolutely.
Well,
if you look at the practice times at the moment,
yeah,
Chris, we've got 1/10 covering the top 5.
Yeah, having said that, I mean it's almost enough said already. But indeed, it's remarkably close. 3.5 tenths between first place and 13th place, with old school veteran Blair Disley still staying strong on the grid. But I really have high hopes for David Greco for this race. He had shown last season, in the end of the season, he was remarkably quick and almost quickest of anyone. So starting now from the first race of the season, which he didn't do last year, he might be aiming for the championship. Certainly a driver like Greco, he wouldn't compete in the championship not knowing he wouldn't win it. So
yeah, of course. And David Greco, we saw have some really strong races, particularly as the season went on last year. He seemed to get stronger in the second half of the season, which may well mean that we can see him. I think he really is a championship challenger myself this year.
Yeah.
And I think that Morgan Moran, if anyone thinks Morgan Moran, I know he will be back for the next race, we hope, in Sepang next weekend.
He will be back.
Yeah, so very much this opens the door a little bit, but nevertheless, Moran is still going to come back strongly, but I think he is going to have real challenges from the likes of David Greco. And looking at practice, Francesco Bagazzi is having a great time out there for Aventa SimRacing, fastest in practice.
Yeah, it's never going to be easy in FSR, definitely not in the World Championship category, where you find the best of the best. Unfortunately, like you said earlier, the best of the best did retire after last year, but hopefully he will be back one day. Nevertheless, it's a great lineup, and another time to shine also for the new drivers. And with new drivers, I also mean Johnny Simon. He did drive a lot of WC races already last year, but he didn't start in WC. He didn't do an entire season, and he is going to now. So really looking forward to seeing those names.
Yep, by the way, if you are interested in asking us any questions, which we can answer during the warm-up, don't forget the hashtag AskCommentator on the YouTube chat. We'll be keeping up to date with that, or I certainly will, and we'll see if we can answer your questions as best as we can as the sessions go on. So we're just about to move into qualifying, I think.
All the questions are welcome, even if your name is André Koensman. It's all okay. Everyone can ask whatever they want. Just
I would like to distance myself from that comment.
It's all okay. Anyway, we are about to go racing, so racing related questions would be well appreciated. And well, we haven't seen any 21s into the practice session, but I think a lot of drivers are holding back, saving the best for last. And we already seen Kweekel in the Pro Series doing a better job than a 22.3, but I'm really curious what's going to happen. Q1 is going to start, so let's see. I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. I mean, if you look at the fact we've got the top 13 separated by 3.5 tenths, this is going to be one epic qualifying session. And it's going to be really interesting to see who makes it through to the top 10, because it's going to be very tight. And a few hundredths of a second, in fact, possibly even a few thousandths of a second, could make all the difference here between being in that top 10 and being out of it. So it's going to be really interesting, Chris.
Definitely. As Mohammed Patel sneaking up to the front space. Oh, that's cheeky, Mohammed. That's cheeky right there. He does get a pit exit out of second place, so we'll have the free run.
Yeah, you get the feeling he's practiced that in the Tesco car park. That's supermarket car park.
Cheeky guy
going on there.
Johnny Simon is going out on track first. So, being an Australian, he must feel like Mark Webber. Hopefully not as Mark Webber in 2010, making that horrible mistake in the last few laps of the race. Nevertheless, I mean, the stakes are high. First race of the season. I mean, in real Formula 1 we have seen Sauber doing a terrific job in Australia, already scoring a lot of points. And well, having a good first race of the year already eases some tension, I should say. Having a good result under the belt.
Yep, it certainly does. We've just had some questions coming in. There was a question about where Morgan Miranda is. We did mention it right at the start of the broadcast. Unfortunately, his wheel has broken. It broke yesterday, so he's been replaced by Danny van der Neet for this race. But in reporting another question which was asking about the differences between this year's car and last year's car. Well, there have been some suspension changes between this year's car and last year's car. That is probably the main difference, to be honest. There have also been some changes by ISI themselves, Image Space Incorporated, the people who make R-Factor 2, and that has made some slight differences to the car. But other than that, it is quite similar to last year's car, but that does mean that the grip is a little bit higher. There's also been changes to the tyre models, and we shouldn't be seeing as much problems with driving offline this year, which should mean that it encourages overtaking.
Yeah, indeed. And if you look on towards the start of last year, where the dirty air was just, you know, like driving into a wall, literally, I'm not exaggerating. It also has been changed significantly, and it's much more realistic. So good work from R-Factor 2 and all the people. Also David Greco, who partially made the mod, I believe, did an amazing job developing it. And well, definitely we didn't lack any racing moments in the past two categories. So. Gonna expect the same thing here into the qualification. At the moment it's Johnny Simon, the only guy out on a flyer, 28.0 and 22.0. Goes a little bit wide
there, and he's abandoned the lap.
He surely did abandon the lap. Not enough for a nice banker.
Well, Mohammed Patel then is going to be the first to set a lap, I think. And you notice there Johnny Simon was wearing a very fetching pink helmet. In fact, pink seems to be a bit of a theme this year. I've seen it on a few drivers' helmets. Mohammed Patel's looks a little bit... I don't think that's pink, actually. I think it might
Didn't
be
Johnny
red.
tell you? Ah, Johnny came out of the closet. No. I'm joking.
122.4 for Mohammed Patel. John Eric Saxon goes a little bit slow. That Junic Simoncic, 122.130.
Nice first lap for him. And Briljak instantly dives under that with a 22.0. Times are now flying in. Patrick DeWitt, 22.7. Cuba Brzezinski, the first guy into the 21s with a 21.999.
That's an amazing lap by Kuba Brzezinski, and Petr Briljak is second. We're just looking further down the grid. Mohammed Patel is in 6th place. Marco Conti has gone 4th at the 122.317. As Blair Disley now slots us into 4th place. Good lap by Disley. We haven't seen him really competitive for a few years, but that's a very encouraging lap. He is a past winner in World Championship, but it's a fair few years ago now for Blair, and he'll be able to get back towards the front.
3 races, 4 races?
I think he's won 3, yeah. I think the last one was in about 2009, 2008 or something. Yeah. So it's been a while, but he's certainly looking strong there. In fact, David Greco has just set his first lap. He's actually slower than Blair Disley. He goes into 5th place at the moment. I don't think David will be particularly pleased with that.
Might be just a little bit of a bank lap. By the way, talking about winners, Patrick DeWitt, it's like the Kovalainen of FSR or something. He is... Oh, Greco! What are you doing? Can we get a replay of David Greco exiting the pits in a fabulous manner? I mean, that is just hilarious what he did there.
Yeah, for some reason he went over the top of the curb in turn 1. I don't quite know what happened there.
He didn't want to block anyone, but I'm sure
it was
caused
very
a lot
polite,
of confusion.
Certainly. He's gone for a very fetching purple. There seem to be an awful lot of pinks and purples on the grid this year.
Yeah, really weird, really weird. And still, it's Kuba Brzezinski topping the sheets, and he's already on his way for another flyer. He's going to start his lap in about 5 seconds. Gerald Teyen is going towards 10th place with a 22.5. That's the cut everyone needs to get. Michi Hoyer mowing the lawn here. Oh, and gets followed by an FTS car, which is the car of... Who was that, Patrick?
I think it was Patrick, yes, I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, it was Patrick. Just lining up next to into the sand, but yeah, definitely some drivers need to pick up the pace, like Johnny Simon didn't set a lap yet on 4 attempts, and with 4 minutes 20 to go.
Well, yeah, Trevor Vavrovsky had a very eventful lap with a few sideways and wide moments, and he's still in 16th place despite being 15 seconds off the pace because he just kept going and completed the lap, which actually could make a difference at the end of this qualifying session.
Yeah, and a lot of people are stationary in the pits. Eros Masculi isn't even driving. Maybe he's
back
has to
at
start
the grid,
from the back.
I believe him and Cheliento are both back at the grid.
Okay, Kweekel now. Jeroen Kweekel going to 8th position, or instantly gets dropped to 9th because people are improving. Still it's Brzezinski with the best time, remarkably. Oh,
yes,
there he
an
even
amazing
goes to a
lap.
21.7.
He has improved it to a 1:21.773, and at the moment that's 2.5 tenths clear. We've not seen anything like that in practice, but Brzezinski is looking particularly good at the moment, and with Simoncic and Bagazzi on exactly the same lap time pretty much, in fact a thousandth of a second in it, in 2nd and 3rd place, so really close up at the top there, and not the drivers you'd necessarily be expecting, without any disrespect to them.
Oh, there we go.
were expecting perhaps Marco Conti, David Greco, maybe Petr Berliak and drivers like that to be up at the top, but they're not.
No, he is. I mean, Brilliak is 5th, but he's separated with 40 thousandths of a second towards Journey Simoncic, who's in 2nd place. So between 2nd spot and 5th spot, there is only 40 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing. The other thing is as well, David Greco is going to have to get a better lapping, because at the moment he's dropped down to 9th place, and with there only being 300ths between him and Kweekel in 11th, he's going to have to improve that lap time to be absolutely safe.
Let me tell it more seriously. If I can do a 22.5, you know, those drivers should be able to do a 21 at least. A little bit surprising to see the cutoff being David Greco with 22.293 at the moment. And
I can only assume it's either track conditions, because don't forget this year in FSR I believe we do have dynamic temperatures, which means the temperature of the track does change a little bit, so perhaps that might have something to do with it, and also the fact that they may be running higher brake ducts and radiators because of the longer race distance. I can only think that's the problem at the moment.
There's no Park Fermi in Q1, so...
Oh, of course, yeah, you're right. So
it's and the of the track temperatures, whatever, it doesn't matter a thing at this moment. I mean, it's similar for everyone, and the fact is that Kuba Brzezinski is half a second quicker than guys like Greco. Simon, however, did do a 22.271, which is good for P9 at the moment. But the guy who's feeling the tension now, that's definitely Greco on P10. And Mohamed Patel, after almost winning races last year with his former teammate Martin Gosby, is now fighting his way for a Q2 spot as well, because he's in P11 at the moment. It's also close.
Looking at David Greco, his second sector is 22.2. It's not bad, but it's not great, I wouldn't say either. So this is going to be interesting to see when he gets to the end of this lap if he can improve, because he really is right on the bubble now in 10th place, and he's run wide, and that's not going to help. And Greco is under pressure. He runs wide again. That's another
I don't think this is going to do it. And already short shifting out of the corner and compromising his exit speed as well.
And he's down to 11th. He's down to 11th, and he doesn't
11th.
improve enough. He's
it's
out.
Daniel Kiss. It's Daniel Kiss who knocked him out, I think. And Jim Paris is going to 7th spot, pushing Marco Conti from 7th to 8th. And
so
it's
David
Johnny
Greco will not make Q2, and we were just saying that we thought that he was going to be really strong for this race, but he will not make Q2.
I guess he will not. But it's all so close. I mean, for example, Norbert Liedner in 17th spot. If he manages to improve 2.5 tenths, he's going to Q2, and he's at the moment he's 17th.
Yeah, exactly.
So nothing is certain
close
at the moment. The only thing that's certain is that Greco isn't going to Q2.
His sectors are not bad, Leitner. I don't think they're quite good enough, but he's another one with a purple helmet, by the way. Is there some sort of
wait a minute,
Quaco
going on past finish. The Quaco manages to do it, pushes Johnny Simon out of it. Blair Disney is now the guy who's in 10th position and is squeezing his bum together in hopes of making it to Q2. And
Johnny
I think
Simon's still on a lap
basically
though, Chris. He's still got another lap to complete, so he's just coming through the last few turns. He's just gone through turn 12, in fact.
Yeah. Leitner improves to 14. Leitner improves 3 more places.
So Leitner up to 14th. Here's Johnny Simon then. He's coming through the final corner. Is it going to be enough to push him up into that top 10? That's the question as he comes down towards the line. Will it be enough? It's a 1:22.037.
Nice. And look at the happiness he admits. I mean, it's only a 2.5 tenth improvement, which is quite a lot, but it instantly puts him on 4th spot. And Bigazzi and Daniel Kiss joined the 21 club. So we got 3 drivers and 1 rookie in WC actually, with his rookie season starting, who's actually taking P1 for Q1.
Yeah, and not only that, Kuba Brzezinski drives for Front Row Racing, so the brand new team in their first race have set the fastest time in Q1. What a shout out to them, and I'm sure they'll be thrilled about that.
This is Braun GP all over again.
It certainly is, yes, it could be. And will Brzezinski be a challenger for the win? Well, you'd have to say with that amazing pace, he didn't do as many laps as anyone else either. He only did the 2 flying laps and then just sat in the pits and waited because he was so confident, and he stayed top.
But seriously, this this difference, there's almost no difference at all. 2 tenths separating the P3 spot and the P11. So that's 1 piece of traction you miss out of 1 corner. That will be the cut right there. We are going to Q2 in about a minute. And we have Park Fermi there, so if someone will do a 21, I would be seriously impressed. Well, what's even more impressive is that I know Morgan Morant is personal best, and it's almost half a second quicker than Cuba was. But that's only for Q1. So I'm really frustrated that he's not racing, and I'm sure if Morant is watching, he's like crushing his teeth at the moment, thinking, "Oh, I wish." I
hope he's not crushing his teeth, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to eat his dinner while watching the race. Yeah. But Marco Conti will be the first out then to do a flying lap. Just while we've got the out lap, we'll just mention who qualified where then, because they will be stuck, of course. Blair Disley in 11th, Greco 12th, Di Loretto 13th, Leitner 14th, Jarl Teyen in 15th, John-Eric Saxon in 16th, Michi Hoyer 17th, Peter Helmbro 18th. We have, Patrick De Witt 19th, Trevor Vavrovsky 20th, and Gennaro Ciliento 21st, and Masciuli 22nd, because of course they are at the back of the grid. Both due to late allocations, but both because they're standing in for drivers who couldn't be here today due to various issues. It's always the problem at the start of the season. You've got to dust off the steering wheel. Maybe things don't quite work as they did 6 months ago.
Lol. Dust off the steering wheel, indeed. I'm curious though. Marco Conti, definitely a respected driver, is also a Thrustmaster, a Codemasters development driver, just like Greco. So
he is
most likely he will have a hard time driving FSR, huh?
Yeah,
since
absolutely.
it's
But he's
all
driving for Life 4 Racing, which is another one of the new teams. Both of the new teams managed to get one driver each into the top 10. In the case of Brzezinski, the fastest time, in fact.
Yeah.
Well, there were, of course, 3 new teams, but I'm not going to mention mine.
Well, that's a fair result for those new teams then, having one driver each, basically into the Q2, and with a great prospect with Cuba there. Definitely impressive. However, here we go with Marco Conti, looking for that sweet apex spot. Definitely hits it, but maybe overshoots it. Won't be perfect, but won't be dramatic as well. Here, looking for that hard break in. Keeps it together. Does get a little bit of traction problems. Runs very wide in turn 4. However, his first sector time is a 27.9, so that's definitely quick. Hopefully he can keep it together. Shifting back like a mofo. Just stabbing it. Here we go, sector 2. 22.250, definitely left a little bit of time there. Doesn't have the best exit as well, coming out of turn 11. Still got sector 3 to make up for it. Remember, it's one chance only, so it's now or never. It's looking like a decent, reasonable lap for Marco Conti here. Last lap of last corner to go. Short shifting and early on to the power. It brings him a 122.159. And for a Q2 time, that's not too bad, I assume. So, good job, Marco Conti.
Yeah, looks good that time. To be honest, 122.159 is pretty good indeed. If we compare it with the Q1 times, it's not far off those. So should be a good lap time. Jerome Queekel will be next then.
Yeah.
And in that very striking, it's actually quite a good livery as this GS Engineering livery, the black and white. I know it's only black and white, but it does seem to stand out quite nicely. And as he comes across the line then into turn 1, wow, really takes a plunk out of that curb. And across that curve, that will no doubt have shuddered his bones a little bit. But he comes down towards turn 3. And it's all looking reasonably tidy. It was heavy over the curve, but nevertheless he kept it straight. Runs out wide there through turn 4. You are allowed to do that. That is not illegal. And he
already has
a
race
sector
under his belt, obviously. He won the pro race just 1.5 hours ago.
Indeed he did, yes.
So he's definitely warmed up.
Definitely on form. And Queekel looking pretty good through the opening part of this lap. He's on the super soft tyres. You can see the red tyre walls there. The other tyre being used this weekend, the medium tyre, which is with the grey tyre wall, really, really attacking the chicane. Be interesting to see if he kept 2 wheels on the track there. We'll have to see that again.
Yeah, it was okay.
I think it was okay. Our eagle-eyed Christy Jong there, no doubt seeing it better than I am. Unfortunately, I am short-sighted. Jerome Queekel then through the final sector, and he's got 2 corners to go, turns 15 and 16, and he will come across the line. Is this going to be as good as Marco Conti? 122.1 to beat, and he comes down at the final straight and across the line for a 121.954 for Jerome Queekel. A brilliant lap.
Yeah, definitely a brilliant lap for him, and he had some compromising moments as well. So maybe his perfect time would be a 21.7, but a 21.9 is definitely something he would have signed for. Now it's time for our favorite Greek guy, and it's obviously Jim Paresis. Let's see what the Twister can do. Has obviously got himself a job to do by keeping these spirits high in the Twister racing camp. I mean, it should be disappointing that Greco isn't into Q2. I'm sure 90% of the folk would have betted on that. 27.920 in Sector 1. Looks promising for Jim. Most likely not a driver who cracks under pressure, so does have a little bit of a moment under the braking there. Nevertheless, uses all the space he needs on the road. Here we go. A fast left and a fast right. Keeps the momentum there. That's all to do in this last sector. A little bit out of shape in that turn 12. Tidy through here. Turn 15 on towards 16, manages to keep the flow going. And I think this is a reasonably good lap for Jim. What will it bring him at 21.953? So nice time for him. And exactly the same time as Quakel, actually. It says the 954 on the timing here, so...
Yeah, it does indeed. That is amazing. They've set exactly the same lap time.
Yeah, but because Jim said it after Quakel, he will get P1. For some guys, Jerez 1997 would ring a bell when 3 drivers had pole position with the same time. Schumacher, Frentzen, and
Villeneuve,
yeah,
I remember
they all
well.
had identical times.
I was only 5, but I was already watching Formula 1 by then, so I do remember it. It was absolutely amazing. But Berliak, that was so
Berliak
wide.
Making it fail, and it's going from bad to worse, losing the flow, losing the momentum in the middle of a corner guarantees you won't have the perfect next corner. Oh my god, well, it can happen.
Yeah, it certainly can. Anyway, he comes down now to the Clark chicane. I think he's okay through there. And let's see if he can put in a decent sector 2 despite that. You'd have the feeling though that he's going to lose time because of that incident.
Oh definitely, that cost him half a second, maybe even a second.
And Berliak, that's the thing about this FSR World Championship qualifying. When you get to Q2 you only get one bite at the cherry, and if you get it wrong, that's going to be it. You're going to be down in 10th place, and we saw Bono Huis and Morgan Moran fall foul of that last year at various points.
He's abandoning the lap. And this is maybe thinking of Berliak like, okay, I still have free tire choice now, and I can choose if I go to the medium compound. So we might see Berliak starting on the medium. What is a fact, however, is that we have Mohammed Patel, who is up for a flyer right now, as Patrick de Wood left the race. That's disturbing.
Knowing Patrick, he might just be going for a toilet break.
Rage quit the wit. No. Here he
19th,
comes.
I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah.
Mohammed Patel. Oh, nice first corner there. Definitely what he was aiming for. Now onto the brakes at the 60-meter mark. Definitely showing confidence here, Mohammed Patel. And look at that, the car just basically glued to the road. Will it translate into a fast sector 1 time? It's a 27.939, so definitely up there. He has to keep it together now. There we go, nice and easy. It has a good exit as well. This is looking promising. 22.164 into sector 2. Does manage to have a good exit here.
It's looking okay for him, isn't it? He's certainly looking a bit cleaner than Peter Berliak, his teammate's lap. And
yeah, definitely.
And Patel, we know how good a driver he is. We've seen the strength of this driver throughout the years. I've raced against him for many years, and I know how strong Mohammed Patel is at times. He's an absolute wonder kid. And 1:22.043 is pretty decent. It's not the fastest lap time we've seen, but it's a good lap.
It's a good lap indeed, but unfortunately for him, it's not quite fast enough. But he can be satisfied. He can be satisfied. Now it's the turn of Johnny Simon. It's his home race. He was already really happy to have gotten into Q2. Does have a big lockup. And a really horrible exit coming out of turn 2. And this already gets him 1 or 2 tenths up. Now keep it together, Johnny. Ooh, has to fight the wheel. Is it just the nerves, is it the tension, or isn't his balance optimal? 28.106 there in sector 1, so he already lost 2 tenths compared to the leaders. Now, if he keeps it together, he can reduce the damage a little bit, maybe qualifying P7, P8.
Yeah, he needs a 22.2 in this second sector. That's what the leading car did. It was a 22.129, so it's actually faster than Jim Parisis's through there, and that will have gained most of the time back. So this could still be a chance at pole, Chris.
You said it. I'm not so sure though. He has to keep it together here. Does do a good job. Seems that in the second part of the lap he did find his momentum back. Does find a reasonable exit here.
Speed so strong again as well, Chris, because they've been
definitely
in the doldrums for a little while. It's a 22.083. It's only fourth, but nevertheless everything's so close at the moment. And
did do a
Simicic
compromising
will be
job.
next in the other Ghost Speed car.
Yeah, definitely Ghost Speed up into shape again, and I'm sure Journey Simicic will contribute on that. Let's see, I haven't really focused on top speed here, but he is edging out 315 kph. Goes a little bit wide into turn 1, or into turn 2 actually. Didn't compromise his exit that much, fortunately for him. Wow, easy on the downshifts there. Controlled and steady. However, will it be fast as well? That's the major question. Journey Simicic. Ooh, 27.9.
Matching it.
Definitely, so looking controlled and stable there. This is really an important corner. Getting close to the wall as well, and the earlier you can get on the throttle, the more it translates into a better sector time here. He's already hugging the inside of the corner. It's a 22.113. Oh, he has to lift. He has to lift in the middle of that corner. That's going to cost him. That's going to cost him dearly.
Certainly is. I think he was probably on for the fastest time so far, but then it had a problem through the chicane, and I think he just ran slightly too tight into the first part of the corner, and that put him off then in the second part of the chicane, and that will probably cost him quite a lot. The problem is that may even put him down to fifth instead.
He lost this entire flow. This is sixth place or something.
And that just shows you
22.195.
just those few small mistakes. He was probably on for pole position, but because he had a couple of small mistakes, sixth. That's how close it is this season.
Hey, you don't have to ask Jim or Jeroen who set identical lap times. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, amazing the way it's been so far. It was exactly the same in Ace yesterday as well. And it really has been absolutely astonishing. So now Daniel Kiss, who was third fastest in Q1, and what a way he attacks that corner. That was brilliant through turns 1 and 2. And he is driving for the Mad Cape team this weekend. They have got some good drivers there, the team from South Africa. And Xavier de Carvalho will no doubt, his team boss, be very pleased with the way that this lap is going so far, and it looks very tidy indeed. Daniel Kiss, as he goes through the first sector.
Daniel Kiss, Danielino.
28.0, it's not bad, it's not the fastest we've seen, and he got a little bit sideways there, but he is looking okay as he comes into the Clark chicane. Let's see how he can get through here. It's looking okay, it's tidy. It was tidy through the first sector, but not quite as fast as the fastest lap time seen so far, just about a tenth off as he comes now through this second sector. 22.0 though through the middle sector, which is the fastest we've seen so far. So it is still a possibility here for Daniel Kiss to get onto the front row, and indeed pole position maybe.
His car's looking really steady.
It is, it's looking really stable, isn't it? Which is really going to help him, you would have thought, when they put the heavier fuel on board as well. So that's going to be something that's going to be a real benefit to him. He comes through turn 16, the final corner, and it's very, very straight. It's like it's on rails, that car. Absolutely fantastic through there, and he does a 22.025, so not quite fast enough for pole, but looking at how stable that car is, I think he might be very strong in the race.
I think that one mistake in Sector 1 cost him the pole. And he will know
probably right. Yeah, it was just, I think it was just at the end of Sector 1, in fact, wasn't it? Coming out of the first corner in Sector 2, just after there, he ran slightly onto the grass, and that may well have been what cost him pole position. Yeah,
newcomer to FSR World Championship, Bigazzi, choosing a, well, relatively different line through turn 1 and 2. And also uses a different shifting technique here. Uses the shortest way through the corner. Doesn't use the maximum of the road though. However, what will this Sector 1 time be? It's a 28.014. and cuts the grass a little bit. Nothing to be that worried about. Brakes late for this turn here, and easy on the throttle.
Oh, did he clip
Hits
the wall?
Yeah, he did clip the wall, but he got away with it. And there we go. Whoa! That was aggressive.
Full attack mode.
That's full attack mode in there. Not completely smooth, but I think it was relatively fast. Here we go then, back to third gear, having a sweet exit. Ooh, locking up the wheels. Tries to line up and loses the car completely. Bye bye, Zwaai Zwaai. And it's done for him. He tries to still make the lap work, but this is a 25, 26, 69, whatever.
23.3, but of course, because Peter Berliak didn't set a lap, that will at least put him in 9th. So that's probably why he completed the lap, just to make sure, you know, one place could make all the difference. You never know.
No, but he was looking forward to a 4th or a 3rd spot, definitely. However, now all eyes on Kuba Brzezinski. Can he keep it together? If he would get the pole position here in his first outing in WC in his entire season, it would be a tremendous achievement. We will certainly find out in a minute or so. And also takes that shorter line that Bugatti just took around here.
Another pink helmet as well. I think there's a bit of
another pink helmet
on this year.
Yeah, apparently so. However, it's
not as fast. It's not as fast as Paresis.
Losing the grip of the car as well. He looked so confident to the first few turns, and now he's losing out a little bit. Maybe it's still the pressure here, clipping the grass as well. It's that one lap wonder you have to be to get a pole position in Formula Sim Racing. Nothing is given here.
22.3 is not a good lap, Chris. This.
It's not a good lap indeed. So that's unfortunate for him. So no cherry on the cake, I presume. And it's gonna be a Greek pole position here. And I think the first time in history in FSR that we get a pole position shared with Jeroen Kwekel, that is, with the same
Yeah, we're going to have our very own Jerez 1997. It's not 3 cars, it's 2, but nevertheless we're going to have 2 cars that have set the same time. Kuba Brzezinski then a 22.1, only 6th for a 22.139. So Jim Paresis is on pole for Twister Racing with Jeroen Kwekel having set exactly the same lap time. Amazing.
Yeah. By the way, Kuba Brzezinski, I thought he would be in front of Bugatti. That looked much slower. With that bad lap, I mean, I wouldn't do a 22.1, don't get me wrong, but it was a bad lap for him, definitely. I mean, he could have gotten pole position here for sure. However, it's that one lap, and Jim Paresis managed to knock out 21.954, same as Jeroen Kwekel, and indeed Daniel Kiss completing the top 3. And what a Q2 it has been. Go Speed really looking strong, and Twister with Jim Paresis still having having high hopes for a race win here.
Yeah, amazing. Jeroen Kwekel, though, you just wonder, should he be in Pro, having looked at this? Because this is an amazing performance that he's put in here. Of course, he's got to do it in the race as well now. And in the race, he'll be running a lot heavier fuel than he was in Pro earlier on. Not quite double, but 60% race distance in Pro. He's got to do a 100% race distance here. So it is going to be a much heavier chunk of fuel than he was perhaps used to in practice. Because no doubt he'll have been focusing on the Pro Series. So that'll be interesting to see how he copes with that. But nevertheless, a brilliant qualifying by Jeroen, and one of our own commentators as well, of course, from Ace. He commentates with James, I believe. So
yeah,
it's nice to see that at least one of us can drive.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. But yeah, talking about coping with pressures, Jeroen doing an awesome job. And how are you coping with the pressure if I leave you for 1 minute?
Well, I've only had to visit the hospital a couple of times so far, so I think we're okay.
No, but I'll do a quick be right back before the race starts, so I won't have to leave again. So be right back.
Okay, so Christy Jong there going to... we can never keep him in the same place for more than 5 minutes. It's just the way it is. Right, so we'll give you a rundown then of the grid as it is. Jim Paresis is on pole position today. Jerome Kuykel will start from second with Daniel Kiss third for Mad Cape Racing. They'll be thrilled with that. Mohamed Patel in fourth place, Johnny Simon fifth. Kuba Brzezinski, he looked dead cert for pole, didn't he? But he didn't get there. He had mistakes on his lap and he ended up sixth. Marco Conti is seventh. Francesco Bagazzi eighth. Brzezinski and Bagazzi then the two fastest in practice and indeed in Q1 as well are not actually doing quite so well when it gets to Q2. Peter Berliak ninth. Blair Disley 10th. I think that's actually wrong. I think somebody might have left the server because I'm pretty sure Disley was outside the top 10, so we'll get back to you on that. In fact, Disley was 11th, Greco was 12th, De Loreto 13th, Leitner 14th, Jarl Teyen 15th, John-Eric Saxon, Michi Hoyer, Peter Helmbrodt, Trevor Vavrosky. And there's two people off the server, in fact, but Cheliento, Mashuli, Kostanov and De Witt down the back. Danny van der Neet has joined the server now. He didn't make it in time for Q1, unfortunately, but he should be racing for Netrex, so he will be here soon. And Dejan Kostadanov has just said apparently that he's going to have a last-minute switch because he's struggling with lag and is going to get Mike Partington to replace him for the race. So interesting. I don't think that's ever happened in FSR, a different driver in qualifying to what we're going to have in the race.
No, definitely not, but... yeah, well, maybe it's the sensible thing to do. Dion could try it as well and then create a massive crash. I don't think that's what we want to see or what everyone what anyone wants to experience on the track. So yeah, it's nice to have a warm-up session where these last-minute changes can be made.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we do have a 10-minute warm-up session for all kinds of reasons, not necessarily that one because you don't predict that happening, but nevertheless, you know, if there's things for the director to sort in between qualifying and the race, it gives them time, and it just gives the drivers a bit of a breather as well, because you've got to remember it's a very long haul. In Formula 1 they do qualifying one day and then they do race the next, and no doubt they have to cope with far more physical pressures with the but nevertheless, if you're sat on a seat for 3 hours, which effectively you are if you're in FSR World Championship, your bum does get quite sore.
Yeah, but I remember in real Formula 1 that Mark Webber, he was really unfortunate. He puked in a car, he released his bowels, so to speak, during racing. I mean, it's really incredible what some race drivers have to endure. There was even one guy, which was really remarkable, who tried to do Le Mans 24 hours on his own. He actually collapsed with exhaustion 23 hours 15 minutes in. But he almost did it.
I can't remember who it was, but yes, you're right. I remember there was actually a British driver in the 1950s that I believe did the whole thing on his own.
Always the British.
Donald something.
Always the British.
It was Donald something. I can't remember his second name. So
Donald
if
Trump?
anyone out there knows, let me know.
Was it Donald Trump?
No, definitely not him, no. Oh. I don't think he'd last more than 30 minutes, would he?
I don't know. He just pays someone, you know. I mean, it's no problem. However, we are making ourselves up for the first race of this year in WC, that is. We already had the pre-shows with ACS Today Pro earlier today, and now it's for these guys to show what it's like to be a WC driver and what the difference is. Remember, these drivers are driving with approximately 210, 220 liters starting fuel compared to the 170 and 130 in Ace and Pro. So yeah, definitely if we see some lap times like we are seeing now, like 27.5 from Daniel Kiss, it's really remarkable, because that's also the times we have seen in Pro earlier today, and with almost 100 liters less.
Yeah, we are going to be missing one driver, and I'm going to try and sound as...
Who are we missing?
We're going to miss Trevor Vavrosky, because apparently he's having problems with his CPU, which is unfortunate. So that means I'm one driver down, but never mind. So Emotion Grand Prix will be racing with just Eros Masciuli, who will start from near the back.
Oh, that's your team!
It is, yes.
Oh no, your first race as a team owner, and you already have a Kviat slash Magnussen story.
Yeah, and the problem is if I get angry, I can't let it be known, because I'm here on the broadcast. Anyway, luckily I can't be accused of bias, can I, when they're all down the back? That's the main thing.
Oh yeah, you're a president as well, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be
nothing going on
I should
there.
stay serious.
If I was trying to get my team to be slightly faster, then I'd be doing a very bad job of it.
Ah, that's why you asked more round for setups. No, joking. That's a lie. But
I do an awful lot of pestering to various people, but not more.
I asked Rens Klopp yesterday for a setup. I sure did. But more out of fun.
Yeah, but you've always been cheeky. We know that.
I'm a cheeky guy. Anyway, though, Jim Paris is leading the board again in the warm-up as well, 27.3. So it wasn't the one-lap wonder. He's practicing a start right now at the end of the pit, and well, finding the neutral, getting ready into the groove, and he's gone. There he goes. Oh, not satisfied with that one.
Jim Paris then is fastest in warm-up at the moment. We can't really read a lot into these lap times because it is, you don't know what various stints they're trying. They're quite often trying different stints of the race depending on which one they feel they're maybe not quite so comfortable on from practice. That quite often happens, so it's difficult to read too much into it, and of course you never know what's going to happen during the race. You never know what tyres they're on, so there's all those things to take into account, especially given that we've got the super soft and medium tyres this weekend, which does seem to have made for pretty good racing in the two other divisions, Chris. The gap between the tyres, the medium tyres do last an awful lot longer, so there has been a good balance of strategies. We saw in certainly in
but
Ace
they are
yesterday,
also a lot slower.
There was a good gap between 2 and 3 stops. Mitchie Hoyer did a long stint on the mediums and did 2 stops instead of 3, and it did get him a podium.
It sure did, and that's what I wanted to say. It's it brings a gap and a window of opportunity to create a strategical advantage. And some drivers took that advantage and just ran away with it. And like you said, Mitchie Hoyer scoring a podium is a perfect example. I think we see some well, genius thinking here. I already see Peter Briljak is going on to the medium tires. So he will start at P10, I believe. And he will be the first guy who is starting on the medium compound. David Greco is trying to start on the medium. Saliento Supersoft Patel is testing on the medium compound as well. But Patel did Q2, so he should be starting on the... Oh yeah, that's what you said. He's just currently testing another stint, but things are looking promising for the front runners as well. And Kuba Brzezinski instantly going on top of the timesheets again, 27.2 with a full fuel tank and super softs onto his car. Does seem still a little bit twitchy, maybe a little bit nervous before the start of this race. I just hope for God's sake that everything will be in one piece after turn 1, 2, and we don't have any major incidents.
Indeed, we don't want any of that. We want some nice, clean racing. Interestingly, in Ace yesterday, there's been a bit of an incident there in Sector 2, but luckily it's only the warm-up. In the Ace yesterday, there was actually a problem in Sector 3 on the first lap. The first corner was actually completely clean, and everybody got through with their cars completely intact, but then it just...
I was right behind that, and I managed to get no damage whatsoever. But basically, one car didn't leave enough room for the other car, and that went into a chain effect. And a lot of people were unhappy, including Danny van der Niet, who was screaming his lungs out into the chat. And yeah, it was definitely something. However, nothing like that is gonna happen today, and I'm gonna knock on wood 3 times for that, because this is WC and everyone knows how to drive. So let's hope these guys will keep it clean the first lap, because the stakes are high. It's WC. Don't get any second chances. No red flags here. Sometimes, like occasionally, with a very specific situation, but yeah. It will just be pure racing if the lights go off. And I really hope that's coming soon. Daniel Kiss now, 26.9. Stealing the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting race then. So who's going to win? Well, it's going to be difficult to call, to be honest. It's very, very close in qualifying. We've had different drivers at the top of virtually every session because Bugatti was top in practice, Brzezinski was top in Q1, and then at the end of all that, we had Jim Parisis on pole. So the 3 official sessions so far have had 3 different drivers at the top, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. And let's see who's on top in 1.5 hours' time. Will it be Blair Disley? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure
it would be really
very,
something.
very close, whatever.
It would be really something if Cuba would manage to win it. He would be like the Lewis Hamilton here in 2007. Not that he won in Australia, but you know, being a rookie, doing a really fantastic job, having no problem to adapt whatsoever. Obviously, we don't have a certain French person in our server right now, but yeah, I'm sure he will be back next week. At least it gives a window of opportunity for another driver. And I mean, I'm not initiating that if Morant would have driven today, that he would have easily won. That's definitely not the case. But it would sure make life harder for a lot of drivers. That's a fact. But yeah.
So here we go then. First race of the season. The nerves are no doubt building, and it's going to be an amazing season. You can just tell by the way that everybody is so close in practice and so close in qualifying that it's going to be a classic race. They're certainly setting itself up for that, and let's hope we do have a clean turn 1 as well, and all those drivers now are going to be getting out there onto the starting grid ready for the start of this 58 lap race. An hour and a half. They have to get themselves ready. We have to get ourselves ready because it's a long haul for me and Chris as well. And we're going to try and not let our mouths get dry during this broadcast.
I just went AFK for that reason. So, you know, I don't have to go anymore. But I can take it.
Yeah, you're already mad by now, no doubt.
I'm already mad?
Yeah, it's as in crazy.
I'm really mad.
Yeah. And see then what tyres people are starting on. Jim Parisis is certainly starting on the Superstars. Of course, if you were in the top 10, you have to start on the tyre that you used in qualifying 2, which means that down to 9th, down to 8th, in fact, sorry, they will be all on. I'm just trying to work out if this grid's right. We've got Peter Berliak in 9th. Is that correct? Did Mohamed Patel not complete his lap either?
That's a little bit weird.
I'm just reading back. Apparently, he says he cut, so that's why he's very honestly owned up to that, and he will go back and start from 10th place, and that's why he's done that. So well done to Mohamed Patel.
Well, Berliak is driving on the super soft tires, so no changes there. He decided to stick with the plan and not go for the mediums. Who is the first guy on the mediums then? It is David Greco, and Di Loretto is following him. And definitely 2 drivers to watch out for. I still didn't lose my hope into Greco, and definitely not in Di Loretto. I mean, 2 drivers of immense proportion. Just had a bad Q1 session, I think. And those are drivers who we didn't expect. I mean, if you would have said that Jeroen Kwikel would have the pole time, because he did have the pole time, I would have called you crazy, right there. I mean, but yeah, he did it. He proved me wrong, and he made my head turn, and there he is now, front row start.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very unpredictable indeed. We've got 5 drivers, by the way, starting on the harder medium tyre. Those, as Chris has already mentioned, David Greco and Enrico Di Loretto. Also, John Eric Saxon is starting on those. Patrick De Witt is starting on those. And Eros Masuli. They are the ones starting on the medium tyre. So they will probably go longer in this first stint, unless, of course, they decide that they don't want to do too long on the medium tyre, in which case they may come in earlier. But certainly for Mace, it seems that if you do go long on the medium tyre, you can make that strategy work, particularly if you're further back in the pack.
Well, let's hope they can, and obviously it's a tactic as well to just burn the medium compound for 7-8 laps and just stay on the super soft tire. You would have the remainder of the race, you would have always have fresher tires than the rest. But nevertheless, here we go. Jim Parisis is already lined up onto his starting slot. Danny van der Niet just about crossed turn 15, going into turn 15 now. So
it does
it's
look
going
like
to be
Parisis hasn't pulled as far forward in his grid slot as he could do. He's miles away from the yellow line.
Well, just playing it safe, and that's his problem as well.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's not going to be much of a disadvantage, but nevertheless, the racing drivers want to have everything they can anyway. It's going to be the start of a brand new season. We are just about ready to get racing.
And there are the lights. When they come off, fire is unleashed. And we are racing here. Good start from Parisis, good start from Quico as well. Can anyone follow him? Parisis seems to be the number one into the corner. He does make it through, but Quico gets taken. And no major incidents into turn one. This is really fantastic.
There's a Ghost Speed car off in the background, I think. I'm not sure who it was. I think it might have been... Just trying to look at who's... They seem to be back on the track now, so I don't think too many places lost whoever it was. But nevertheless...
So, Jim Paris is leading after turn one. Daniel Kiss managed to jump Jeroen Quico with a great start there. Great job from Daniel Kiss.
Sorry, Chris, to cut across. Jonas Simoncic is out of the race.
That's really unfortunate for him. He did such a great job into Q2. However, bad luck for him. We lost one driver. Kuba Brzezinski also stole fourth spot from Johnny Simon. And Bigazzi made a good start as well. Yeah, tell us.
I think Mike Partington is missing both wings. Looks to have suspension damage as well. So standing in for Dianka Stadanov, and of course, maybe because he didn't have that rhythm going from qualifying, it's a little bit more difficult to get straight into the car and race, and he is now out of almost certainly out of the race. I can't see that he'll be able to fix that and keep going.
And Greco is pushing Di Loreto, but Di Loreto closing the door here. Michi Hoyer gained some places as well. He's now driving in 11th spot, Blair Disley in 10th, and Danny van der Niet already in 18th place. He started dead last in 23rd, so that's good from him as well. And the train is following and is riding onto the main straight. We completed the first lap, and fortunately no major incidents whatsoever. Everyone got away cleanly except for the unfortunate Jeremy Simoncic of Go Speed Racing.
Yeah, they have still got Johnny Simon in the race running in 5th place, so hopefully he can have a strong result for them. Brzezinski, who started 6th, is up to 4th, and we know that he has been consistently among the fastest drivers. He certainly is a favourite for challenging for the win here today, but Johnny Simon is hanging on to the back of him, and at the moment Brzezinski's not really making many inroads into Quico in front of him.
It might be the little bit extra fuel load that he has to carry in terms of last year. It doesn't really matter what I say. He's just not into the rhythm. Johnny Simon is doing a better job. He might get into a rhythm after a few laps, but yeah, it's interesting to see that Brzezinski was so promising and had a bad qualifier, and now seems to be slacking off a little bit. So hopefully he can keep it together.
Yeah, he's driving, of course, for a brand new team, and I'm sure that 4th place, if you'd have said to them that they'd have 4th place in the opening few laps last year when they registered their entry, they'd have been pretty happy with that. But nevertheless, Jim Parisis then leads by 7/10 of a second. It's not by much, though, from Daniel Kiss in the Mad Cape car, who's in 2nd place, and they will be really pleased with that at the moment as a team. And he is at the moment, of course, in DRS zone, so when that opens in a lap's time, and they can use that, he is going to be right there if he can keep within that second of Jim Parisis.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously it's a train effect, because so many drivers are within a second of each other. They would all have DRS except the guy who's leading that train. So it's going to be interesting to see what will happen then. Mike Partington has left the race, so he's our 2nd retirement, unfortunately for him. But yeah, 15 minutes ago he didn't know he had to race, so can't really blame anything on him. Just bad luck for Mike. So we are continuing with 21 drivers, and Marco Conti in that last position now. He had a troubling start, to say the least.
Yeah, he certainly did. Because he was pretty high up the grid, wasn't he? So that's not a good start from Marco Conti. Daniel Kiss got to within half a second of Jim Parisis, but I think he just made a mistake coming out of the fast chicane. And that's the weight chicane, as it's actually called, although we don't tend to use the names much around here, but in Australia, but that's what it's called, because I looked it up. And Daniel Kiss is staying very close to Jim Parisis, and Parisis is going to have to watch it, because this time round, of course, they will have DRS, and in fact, I think Daniel Kiss has it open now by the look of the wing. Yeah,
but he's not in striking distance, but it will provide an extra 10th. And Masculi having a problem here, it seems. Danny passed him? Danny is making.
No, I think
good
Danny was
progress.
already in front of him. So
Oh, he was. Oh, my
yeah,
bad then.
Mashuli was Mashuli was 19th, in fact. So I think he's climbed up one spot. I think Norbert Leitner's had a problem. He's in the
Oh,
pits.
he did. Oh, yeah, dear God, Norbert Leitner losing a front wing. And he's into the pit right now. He will be able to continue the race, so no worries there, Christian Smirnov. The race is still long. Bigazzi in 4th spot now, and it's Johnny Simon who is having a problem. Suspension damage for
out.
Quico.
Sorry, Chris. Jeroen Quico is out.
Oh my God, what happened there? I'm watching the replay. Quico just losing the car. Goes back to on track, and Johnny Simon gets collected. And a lot of drivers there sustaining damage out of the rubbish onto the track. So that is really horrifying. Quico just losing the car, and a lot of drivers get collected. And there was nothing Johnny Simon could have done there. Nothing.
I think only Johnny Simon has sustained serious damage. I think all the others have
serious
managed to
damage.
carry on.
Light damage, maybe. Bigazzi might have light damage. Brzezinski, I don't know. But
Brzezinski up to
damn.
3rd. He's still running pretty quickly, so I think he's okay. They were taking avoiding action. I think they did get clipped a little bit. Meanwhile, Daniel Kiss is only 4/10ths now behind Jim Paris. He's just gone back up to half a second. But there is certainly a challenge on here and a battle for the lead.
Yeah, but what an accident that was. Definitely not something you want to see. I mean, drivers can crash, but if they take other drivers with them, it's really unfortunate. Although it's a complete racing incident this time. But so unlucky. Daniel Kiss now applying the pressure onto Jim Paris's. And both drivers never won a Formula Sim Racing World Championship race, I believe. Or did Jim win last year? What was it?
I don't think he did. No, he had a lot.
There
I
was
think he had a
something
few
with
podiums.
Jim last year. Was it America? No, that book is closed. But no, either way, it's a good fight. Two relatively new guys into the WC category are fighting it out for the leading spot of this race. I mean, I'm constantly looking at my timesheet. Where's Morant? Where's Bono Huis? Maar Bono Huis is thuis and is not driving at the moment, unfortunately. And same for Morant.
Yes, Morgan Moran, of course,
I
had
think-
problems. And Michi Hoyer, I think, has just spun.
I think we will have a new winner in WC today then. If Blair Disley doesn't win, if Patrick DeWitt doesn't win, and if another guy who I failed to forget, or David Greco doesn't win. So,
Michi Hoyer out of the fast chicane, had a spin
Oh.
and has knocked the front wing off. He will be able to continue almost certainly, but he's going to have a pit stop. That's allowing some of the drivers who were near the back further up. David Greco as well, running down in 10th. He's not looking that strong. He is on the medium tyre, so watch for him later in the race. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, he's already lost 12.3 seconds to the leader, which is quite a surprise to see him down there.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Michi Hoyer, the guy who scored a podium yesterday in the ace category. He went up to claim 3rd spot. And now it's Mohammed Patel, Jackie Tyen, or Jarl Tyen, who are making life miserable for Blair Disley, who gets taken a place down. I think a few spots in a few corners there. And Mohammed Patel showing a lot of progress here. Driving steady in 6th. And the gap between him and Peter Briljak is severe though. It's already 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, it certainly is. Back up front, the two at the front, they're just trading lap times, really. Nobody getting the upper hand, but nevertheless, it's still quite close between them. Still only half a second separating them, but Daniel Kiss, whether he's just got the car set up so that he hasn't got a very high top speed, I don't know, but he is quite close to Parisis, but he just doesn't seem to close down that much down the straights, even with the aid of DRS.
Nah, definitely, but it's a tool, you know, DRS. I mean, if I had a button here that would disable it for everyone during the entire race, I would instantly press it. I mean, I'm not a fan of DRS, but you know, that's the way we go right now. But fortunately, it's not a complete
Sorry, Chris.
passing
Blair
button.
Disley
But
and Jarl Tyen. Blair Disley is right on the back of Jarl Tyen, and it's going to be a battle down into turn 4. Let's turn 3 even. Jarl Tyen goes up the side. No, Blair Disley, sorry. Getting in a muddle there, and Tyen comes back at him though. Disley ran slightly wide through turn 3, and it allowed Jarl Tyen back 3. In actual fact, Blair Disley's lost a lot of time there as he went offline. He just ran onto the grass slightly, and I think he's got some grass on his tyres. It's just made the tyres dirty, and he's having a few problems, although Tayan ran wide there as well, and Disley is going to be back on him pretty quickly.
Yeah, really weird lines though from
erratically.
Tayan. Tayan left the line completely open for Disley. It should have been an easy pass, but Tayan managed to cut across him once more because he overshoot the braking zone, Disley. But he manages to stay on track, and maybe with a good exit here he might be able to get another move in. But he doesn't have the best of exits here. He does have the next, start-finish line straight to make another attempt in. I'm sure, because it seems that he's much faster than Tayan.
Yeah, it certainly does. I don't know if Tayan is having some problems with his tyres at the moment. He shouldn't be. They should last in about another 3 laps. He ran wide though, and that's going to allow Blair Disley. In fact, he's coming into the pits.
You were right,
he
Thomas.
maybe is having problems with his tyres.
Yeah, and now Disley, he still has the DRS for this sector. He's weaving across. Well, no impeding there from anybody, but and he still has the DRS zone for this straight. Or ever so does the rest. There's a nice train forming behind the old veteran Blair Disley. And Daniel Kiss is still 7/10 away from Jim Parise, so those guys are fighting it out their own way. Nobody's taking stupid risks there, and Kuba Brzezinski is...
Greco's just run off the track. Sorry, Greco just ran completely off the track. He nearly did a Jeroen Kweekel, but not quite. He managed to keep the car out of the wall just, but it was very close.
Yeah, I see, holy.
He's still in 9th place, so a bit of a heart in the mouth moment there for David Greco.
Yeah, definitely not the guy we saw in the last races from last year. Seems like a different Greco here.
Certainly does. A shout out though to Di Loreto and Greco, because they're up there in 8th and
behind
9th
Greco,
place. And
behind Greco, it's Helmbro who's going wide, and Patrick DeWitt capitalizing on that mistake. Helmbro does manage to get it back onto the road, does only lose 1 place instead of 1 front wing. So there we go. Patrick DeWitt started almost last and is now already up in 11th place.
Certainly is. Daniel Kiss, by the way, has got very close to Jim Parise. They're just going through turn 3 now, and Kiss is all over the gearbox of Parise. Brzezinski, by the way, is closing in a little bit as well. Mashuli's come into the pits already on the medium tyres, so he's not going too far on those, and he will now keep the super softs for the rest of the race, no doubt. But it's getting very close at the front, and Brzezinski is keeping a watching brief. He's not far behind at all, just 1.5 seconds behind Daniel Kiss in 2nd place. So Brzezinski, if they make any mistakes here with clashing between each other up front, he'll be ready to pounce.
Yeah, but he's in a good spot indeed. I mean, he doesn't have any effect of the dirty air in front of him. He's in relatively clean air, and he can just let the guys in front of him wear their tires out. Although they're not really battling each other, they're certainly putting the pressure up on each other. If Kuba can hold it up together, he might jump them during the pit stops, but let's just wait and see and enjoy this battle. I'm at least really happy that it's so close and we are actually seeing some terrific racing and not some French guy who wins the race in lap 1.
You do realise you're going to have to answer to him when he comes back from his...
I can't help it. I mean, the first races of last year were relatively boring because Moran was so quick. They were,
but we did actually have... Let's not forget, we did actually have 5 different winners last year during the season.
Definitely, and what a season it turned out to be, with the last race, with Bono clinching the championship whilst not being the fastest guy in terms of qualification, in terms of pure racing speed, but in terms of dedication and not making many mistakes. Only Suzuka he made a mistake. So, and what's happening to John Eric Saxon? A new fresh set of tires. That's happening to the former president of FSR. So he's rejoining in 16th place right now with a fresh set of super softs.
He is. David Greco has passed Di Loreto. I think Di Loreto's had some problems somewhere because he's dropped behind Greco, and Greco is now the top driver on medium tyres. Saxon and Mashuli have already switched off those medium tyres, but Greco, Di Loreto and De Witt are choosing to go longer on them and doing a reasonable stint on them. They will have done 10 laps by the end of this lap on these tyres, so they obviously feel that the medium tyre is not that much of a disadvantage that they need to switch to the super softs too early.
Yeah, indeed so. And whilst I said 5 laps ago, and there's a little bit of Netrex love combined with that, but 5 laps ago Danny van der Niet was still driving in 17th spot. He's now driving in 12th. So he is still doing a nice job. The Rock keeping steady, rock steady indeed. And Blair Disley as well, 7th place for him. He's climbing up the ladder quite severely. Obviously we had Johnny Simon, Jeroen Kwekel who have had to retire as Disley is pitting. So lap 10 and Blair Disley is calling it the day for his tires, and he gets followed by David Greco. So a lot of drivers.
He does indeed. Loretto and DeWitt stay out on the medium tyres, so they're going further on. I wouldn't be surprised because Patrick likes the alternative strategy, so I wouldn't be surprised to see DeWitt go quite long on these medium tyres. We have seen him do alternative strategies quite a lot in FSR, so that wouldn't be a surprise to me, Chris. I don't know about you.
Well, about me and Patrick DeWitt, I heard him moan quite a lot on TeamSpeak the past few days. I think he has an issue with tire wear, but no, I hope he sorted that out the last day yesterday, and he does a fantastic job now. He's in P7 right now on the medium compound, and it might prove a really great strategy for the moment being.
Well, of course, it does mean that, yeah, he's up into 7th because he started about 19th, didn't he? But he's run long on these medium tyres and he's staying out. And
the
of
only
course,
problem,
steadily he's picking up places.
Yeah, but the only problem that he can run into is that he waits too long with his pit stop and tries to take too much advantage. The moment he realizes he's starting to lose time, he should instantly pit in like 3-4 laps.
Our 2 leaders are in. Now this is going to be a battle in the pit stops. Jim Paresis and Daniel Kisters. There was 4 tenths between them. Brzezinski as well, and Peter Berliak. Everybody in. Now which is the quickest pit stop? That's the question. We're going to see as they get away.
Nobody has to share a slot. That's good. Oh, and there goes Kiss. There goes Kiss. The orders are unchanged.
Pretty much as you were.
But it was close there. Kiss doing a good job. Now they are exiting as leaders as well, and Di Loretto, here you see Di Loretto attacking Brzezinski here, but he can't really attack here. I mean, Brzezinski has fresh tires, super soft as well compared to the medium compound of Di Loretto, so no problem there. So a lot of drivers making their pits, including Gennaro Saliento. Jim Paresis is still leading, Daniel Kiss following ever closely. And I think the winner of that last pit stop was Cuba Brzezinski, because instead of being 1 second behind him, he's now only half a second behind him. So yeah, it's getting a close battle. And DeWitt now in 5th spot, and
yes, DeWitt 5th, because he stayed out. Di Loretto and DeWitt haven't pitted yet, so that's why they are where they are. But of course, the reason they've done that is because Celiento's out.
Oh, Patel! Oh, Celiento's out. That's unfortunate. Patel is coming under pressure. And Patel is taking the spot of 8th place, Danny van der Neek. And what's happening with DeWitt? DeWitt is trying to...
but he's going to have a go back.
Oh, DeWitt, what are you doing, Patrick? He was way too optimistic there. Really stupid move of Patrick DeWitt there.
Yeah,
really way too optimistic.
Unfortunately, that move's crazy. He was nowhere near enough alongside, and he may have damaged his suspension as well.
He did have the toe, he did have the inside of the corner, but... You know, and he got some room from Bigazzi it was as well, or Di Loretto, but yeah, insane. Was it Bigazzi? Bigazzi quit it as well? Oh, he lost the wings. Oh, holy yeah.
Yeah, so Francesco Bigazzi, yeah, he's not going to be happy about that either.
No, but he spun and he kept his wings, and then he tried to 180 the car, and then he just jammed it into the wall. So
right, so.
Patrick was definitely responsible for the spin of Bigazzi, but he is not responsible for the DNF. Has to be said. But yeah, really way too optimistic from Patrick on all tires as well.
I'm getting slightly excited because I've just noticed my Schuley's up to 12th. Anyway, with everything that's going on, there are a lot of drivers actually that are getting high. David Greco is now in the points, although I suspect that he would probably wish he was higher than that. But he's on the softer tyre now, I believe, having started on the medium tyre, so he may be able to make some progress now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he already jumped his starting position after the first pit stops, and Patrick DeWitt still has to make a pit stop. Danny van der Neek already made a pit stop. He's now on the medium compound, and he's already back to 15th spot. So that's not a driver Greco would jump. Oh, but he might jump Blair Disley here, because Disley had a troubling exit there. And DeWitt is getting under pressure as well, not going in. I think we should go on board with DeWitt, or at least the tie-in. So hopefully we're on board with Tyen. No, there's just no room for it, but he's certainly close. Greco isn't doing it with Disley as well. Maybe Tyen can do it this time round. Does have the DRS available. Patrick de Witt isn't showing a defensive line. He's going defensive on the last time. Patrick, he's changing a line under braking. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's
I think
cheeky
Patrick,
play there. That's really cheeky and determination from Patrick to not let anyone pass. But it's going
Greco's been
against
off.
the rules.
Sorry, Greco ran wide again for the second time this race, actually. So maybe struggling
lost
with
the
the
spot.
car a little bit today because he went wide, and that's allowed John-Eric Saxon through and up into 10th position.
Yeah, it sure did. And well, at the moment, Jarl Tyen in 8th spot is going to try to take 7th spot away from Patrick de Witt again. I have a feeling this is going to end up horrible with the corner that's going up. He's not yet alongside him, and Jarl Tyen chooses. Yeah, he shows money. Oh, and Patrick goes off. Patrick goes off, but he manages to keep the car on the road. It's already 13 laps, almost 14 laps, and he didn't make a pit stop yet. Those tires are shattered. And,
well, they should actually be lasting a bit longer, yeah, but Patrick, as you said, obviously is struggling with his tyres in practice because the medium tyres should last longer than 13 laps. There's no doubt about that, given that the super softs last 10.
And he's still not going to the pit. Di Loretto is going to the pit though. But what is Patrick de Witt going to do? He's getting under pressure now by Blair Disley, who's going up for the inside. It's wide open. De Witt not choosing for a defensive line and just lets him go. Well, that's better than moving under the braking. However, de Witt is not done with this. Takes the slipstream. But behind them, it's Saxon as well, and there's a little bit of contact.
Wow! Did
There's
you
a
see
little
how
bit of
sideways
contact.
John-Eric Saxon was then coming into the corner? That was a brilliant move. He
Definitely.
managed to keep it under control.
Daniel Kiss is leading. Jim Paresis is off. Jim Paresis is off. And he's out of the race.
What
Jim
happened?
Paresis is out of the race because of lag issues.
It looks like he had a disconnection,
He had a disconnect.
Unless he
Holy
reappears.
no.
We'll see if he reappears because he hasn't
I hope
actually
so.
DNF'd yet.
Come on, Jim, come back. No, he had a DNF. It's over for Jim Paresis. So the lead being handed over on a silver platter to Mr. Kiss, Danilino. And Jim Paresis is out of this race. How unfortunate for him and Twister Racing in general. I mean, they did such a great job, and then it gets taken away from them like it's nothing at all. However, I'm sure Daniel Kiss wouldn't mind because he's now leading this Grand Prix, and Kuba Brzezinski is following him ever so closely. Peter Briljak behind that, but he's it's a 7-second gap between Brzezinski and Peter Briljak in P3. So yeah, but a lot of DNFs again. We are already on 7 DNFs in 15 laps. So at this rate, we would be...
A lot of them, though. I mean, we've had one disconnection, but the vast majority of them have actually been driver errors. I mean, even with Francesco Vigazzi, he was hit by de Witt, but when he tried to spin back around, that was when he actually knocked the wings off. So it wasn't actually...
it was idiotic.
So they're mostly driver mistakes, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. But, yeah, and one driver almost got de Witted as well. I mean,
yeah, to be fair, your career's not complete until you've been de-Witted.
I don't know. Shall we ask David Greco, Monaco in 2000 something?
No, maybe not. Maybe he's not the best person to ask.
Nah, maybe not. But Patrick is a really nice guy. But if I see him like this, like he's moving his racing line under the braking, I mean, it's just a big no-no. That can prove fatal, you know, for anyone's race. So,
meanwhile, and I'd just like to tell you a little story here because that just adds to the romance.
Can the story
of this.
wait? Because John-Eric Saxon, not sorry, but John-Eric Saxon is really putting the gloves on and tries to pass Blair Disley here. If he gets a better exit, he might be able to do it. If Blair Disley opens the door, indeed he is doing it, but John-Eric Saxon is not diving in there. And now it's Jarl Tyen with the bad exit and has to be careful that he's not being taken.
4 of them together.
Almost. So, oh, Jarl Tyen outbreaks himself and squeezes Blair Disley off. But this will have consequences for the exits of a few drivers. Here we go, almost 4 wide, in towards the train. Oh, I'm on the replay. Shit.
Down into turn 3. Yeah, Blair Disley has got
indeed.
past. John-Eric Saxon is 6th. As Jarl Tyen and John-Eric Saxon. Oh, oh, oh. They think
Close
they got
driving
through
there.
somehow.
Close driving.
Amazing driving by the two of them to just about give each other enough room, and Saxon took the place. So Disley up to 5th now then. So he's having a much stronger season this season so far by the looks of things. Tyne is now under attack from
on the grass. Greco almost on the grass and has to be careful onto the braking now, but Greco really fed up with the pace of Tyne, but Tyne has every right to drive where he is. So he's doing well on defending that spot, although he couldn't defend from Disley and Saxon just onto the limit just 30 seconds ago. Great driving from him. He had a little bit troubling pace last season, but it seems like he's back driving in P6. Same for Disley in P5.
Yeah, it's just very tight as well, and Greco is really all over the back of Jarl Tyne. I'm wondering if Tyne, I think Tyne pitted around the same time as everyone else, but he doesn't seem to have the ties, and he's coming into the pit lane. In fact, I think he was the one that pitted early, wasn't he, on lap 7? So that's probably why. So he hasn't been on the medium tyres yet. Perhaps he'd be better off going on those, because he doesn't seem to be getting many laps at all out of the super softs.
Indeed, but already Greco lost out for 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds to Disley, and Greco onto the grass again. He's not having a nice race, this Italian-Brazilian guy.
No,
so
he isn't. But he's up to 7th. That's the thing.
Yeah, Patrick did make a pit stop, but he's back out on the medium compound again, so he is not on the super softs. Interesting decision there.
Yes, now I think we have got a bit of a gap with Daniel Kiss, who is leading this race. I just want to say about Madcape. Coming into this season, they had some sponsors pull out, and if you want to sponsor Madcape, I'm sure Xavier Cavallo would be interested in listening to you. They weren't even sure they were going to be racing a week ago, and yet here they are with Daniel Kiss. He's leading the race. They've got Jarl Tyne, who's been having a strong race as well. He's down in 14th at the moment, but don't forget he's pitted twice. What a story that is. Madcape weren't even sure they were going to be here a week ago, and here Daniel Kiss is leading the race. Yeah,
definitely hats off for that club. Like Manor Motorsports, his wet dream, you know. But no way that will happen in real Formula 1. I think they will retire from Formula 1 before the end of this season. Really an appalling joke. But yeah, talking back to Formula Sim Racing, Danny van der Niet is getting the pressure on because Marco Conti is behind him, and he's able to put on the DRS in about a second. So Danny van der Niet on medium compound tires, who are 5-6 laps old. Marco Conti has relatively fresh super softs, but he's not able to close the gap. Maybe in this next DRS zone he does have a little bit of a better exit. Will he go for it at the end of this straight? Danny van der Niet doesn't close the door, but Conti isn't going for it. He loses it on the braking, but he keeps it together. A little bit of a drift through turn 3. Marco Conti keeping it together, but +1 for trying, Marco. Really good job. Nice driving.
Yeah, well controlled as well. Because
yeah, definitely.
when you spin out like that, it's very difficult to stop yourself careening across the curb and into the other car, but he did very well.
But I can already hear the jaw sound, you know, the famous jaw sound, because Patrick de Witt is behind Marco Conti, and as a white shark, he's just, you know.
Well, he's not exactly white, but yeah.
Well, did you know white sharks, when they attack, they close their eyes to protect them? Maybe that's what Patrick does when he
inside the helmet.
No, I don't know. I'm bashing Patrick too much. I mean, I don't want to give Andre a field day. It's always friendly love.
He is a very
I
good
respect
driver,
Patrick really a lot.
Just, sometimes we do know that he does get a bit carried away, but there's no doubt that he's a fast driver.
No, but even if you're a friend of mine, if you are changing your racing line under braking, that's just a big no-no. However, Patrick de Witt's getting really close to Marco Conti because they, both Danny and Conti, didn't have the best of exits. Patrick now has a really great exit. Marco Conti can cover. But what will happen here? There is a gap. Will Patrick do it? He will dive for it. And it's a dive indeed. Great overtaking maneuver. But Conti spins. Conti spins. It seems
there was
like
no contact.
No, I don't think there was. And Marco Conti
he must have stalled
DNF.
it. He must have stalled it because he's retired. There was no contact with Patrick de Witt at all. I can only think that Marco Conti has stalled the car.
There was little contact. There was a
little
tap.
contact, in fact, yeah, with the back wheel, actually, now that we're looking at it again, yeah.
But I don't think that was a really ridiculous move, because Conti left the door wide open. And he basically said to Patrick, you know, come on in. And yeah, then he stalled the car. Or he just pressed S. Maybe he was just fed up. Yeah, the car was running, so he just pressed escape. Marco Conti pressing escape, really unfortunate for him. But yeah, well, nothing bad towards Patrick there.
Yeah, I would say that Patrick has been responsible for some of the incidents today. I don't put that one on him, though. I think that Marco Conti, it did look like Patrick was pretty much at the inside of the corner, so...
Yeah, he was already alongside, so no discussion possible. However, it does mean we have another retirement, and we only have 15 drivers remaining in this race. Let's hope nobody else will retire, because 8 drivers in 20 laps. I mean, that means that in 20 laps time we are down to 7 drivers, and that's not a great perspective. However, the track is emptying out, everyone is finding their slot onto the track, and well, Daniel is just doing a great job. Danielino, 3 seconds gap between him and Cuba Brzezinski, who's doing a steady job as well. And I think if I were Cuba, and I would definitely be that fast now, but if I were him, I wouldn't be like pushing it all over right now and try to close the gap. You would just, you know, do it tactically by well, pitting now apparently, so he's going towards the pit.
And
same with Daniel,
well
so he's just covering him. Let's see what's up with the width. Did anyone say the width?
Yeah,
are we challenging with the width?
I think he's up behind him.
We are battling with the width once more. Ooh, Patrick just cutting him off. Wow, definitely has the full aggression mode on. And I mean, if Patrick actually hits Danny, I'm sure Danny would drive up to his house and it would become a newspaper article.
Well, so they're both Dutch, so Danny probably doesn't live very far away, so probably not a good idea to take him out.
I don't think Patrick has the guts. I don't know, but it seems like Patrick doesn't care today about anything. Now, nevertheless, here he goes. He does have DRS open. Danny is going defensive here. This is saying you're not getting past. They almost make contact. Keep it together, guys. Keep it together. Danny is on the inside, and that was a brilliant
that's how you do
episode of how it should be done 2 laps earlier. And great move from both of them. Danny is now getting under pressure again, and they make contact.
No, Patrick. I think Danny ran in deep, and he nearly hit Patrick, but Patrick recovered. Now Eros Masciuli is coming up behind Patrick De Wit as well, so he's going to have to watch out for that. Although I think De Wit will be a little bit
Danny
faster.
Tapped him.
So.
Danny did make contact with De Wit, but
right. Okay. Well, I'll be honest. There's not. I don't want to say this because I don't want to sound like we're better. I didn't expect it to happen that way round.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Daniel Kiss, after the pit stop, finds himself into 3rd spot, but Mohamed Patel and Peter Briljak in front of him still have to pit. So
and David Greco on Peter Helmbro down into as he overshot the corner. Now he just about gets it pulled up. He was really late on the brakes there, Greco, but he managed to get it stopped as he came to the corner. So he did get up the inside of Helmbro.
Patel back on track, but Di Loretto and Blair Disley are well in front of him. So no worries
Disley
there.
Up to 4th.
Yeah, doing a great job. Come on, Blair, do your job.
And Peter Helmbro has come into the pit lane as well for ACR, so he is now in the pit lane and changing tyres. We've got David Greco up to 7th, John Eric Saxon is 8th, Tayan is 9th. That puts Van der Neet into the points. Don't forget that Tayan, of course, he's got past Danny Van der Neet and Patrick De Wit, which is interesting because he actually pitted before them, I believe, didn't he?
Patrick is really going for it. Oh no, he's doing it. He goes for it and the dive. Danny covers it off. Patrick is blocking his wheels, but that was some nice defending from Danny right there. And a little bit opportunistic driving from Patrick. He might have thought like Danny is gonna move out of the way once I dive into the corner as well. Danny was like, no way I'm gonna do that. You know, eat some of your own. So Eros Masciuli now joining that club with that ridiculously yellow car, right, Thomas?
Shut up! It's
no,
what we call
nice. I'm just bashing you. In the meantime,
De Wit on the Van der Neet. He's up the inside, and Masciuli is going to keep a watching brief here. If anything happens between these two, he'll be right past the boat pair of them. But De Wit has got up into 10th place. It was a good move. Van der Neet runs wide, and that might give Masciuli a chance.
It might does. There's certainly opportunity. The Rock isn't defending, but he is outbraking Masciuli, and he doesn't leave anything hanging on the traction part. So good driving from Patrick, good driving from Danny, and it only costed him 1 place. So both Danny and Patrick are on the medium compound. Eros Masculi is on the super softs. Let's see what the difference will be. Certainly the stakes are high and a lot of drivers are really looking racy today. And I think Patrick DeWitt is looking like the most raciest guy today. I mean, he just doesn't care. He's like, oh, there's a gap, okay, I'm gonna dive right in there. And I would be proud. But in front of them, oh, it's almost Tyan losing the car there. And what's happening with Patel? Patel is getting under pressure. Ooh, Blair Disley keeping it alive. Great driving from the old veteran, but it's gonna cost them even more because Di Loretto is jumping on the inside of Disley, and Disley has no chance of obtaining that place. So he has to let Di Loretto go. He also has fresher tires and super soft, so no chance there. And I think Di Loretto in 1 or 2 laps will make life pretty difficult for Patel. So let's see. Oh, Disley's into the pit. Disley is into the pit. That means Greco is going back to P6.
Yep, so Blair Disley into the pit lane. Then what tyres does he go on to? I think he's gone for another set of super softs. He has indeed. So where will he come back out? I think he'll come out pretty close to the Tyan and DeWitt. He's going to be just ahead of them, in fact, is he? Yeah, so a little bit ahead of them, in fact. So Blair Disley then back out in 8th position and will take off after John Eric Saxon, who is in 7th. So that's how it stands at the moment. Daniel Kiss has extended his lead. It's up to 4.5 seconds with Kuba Brzezinski. So
there goes Eros Masculi on Van der Niet. Van der Niet defending the inside. Eros Masculi taking the wider outside line. But the outside becomes the inside right now. Brilliant move from Masculi and showing Van der Niet how it's done. But Danny Van der Niet holding on to the corner. But brilliant driving lets Masculi live. And that's really driving on the edge how it should be done. Really nice driving from both of them.
Yeah, Eros up into 11th place now, and his next target is Patrick DeWitt, of course, who passed earlier on. It's taken Masculi a few laps.
Don't get too optimistic here, Thomas. Don't get too optimistic.
I'm not going to get too optimistic. To be honest, I was just hoping they'd finish. I'm quite surprised he's up to 11th.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Unfortunately, your other driver didn't start the race, but yeah, nevertheless, 11th job for Eros Masculi. Good perspective when you start last position. So Di Loretto, what's going to happen with him? He's into the pit right now. So he's going to turn his tires into a fresh set of super softs once more. And that allows John Eric Saxon to reclaim 6th position. David Greco now finding himself into 5th spot. Whilst he's not driving onto his, well, best day, it seems so. Because I know David as a driver who rarely makes mistakes. And, well, this race is just not the race for him, it seems. And there goes Disley. Under pressure. Ooh.
Yeah, he's very close.
Keeping it together.
To Di Loretto.
But Di Loretto making it work. And obviously with the fresh tires, it's not a hard job for a guy like Enrico to make that pass work. And I'm pretty curious how long Blair Disley will hang on to this stint of tires. He pitted 2 laps ago. So I should expect him to drive at least 12 laps, but he's already looking wiggly.
Yeah, Blair Disley in 8th place and staying on the back of Enrico Di Loretto. I'll give you a rundown of the order at the moment. Daniel Kiss is leading by 4.8 seconds from Kuba Brzezinski. Petr Burliak in 3rd. You can see that, of course, on the left-hand side of your screen. Patel in 4th. Greco 5th now. He's making steady progress, Chris. He's been getting up through the course of the race and has now made it into the top 5. So David Greco, it's not been the most stellar race by him, but nevertheless he is making progress and he's now in the top 5.
Yeah, let's see how that will end. At the moment though, it's Enrico Di Loretto with Blair that are making each other's stints a little bit worse and worse because they're fighting it out. And nobody wants to throw in the towel. And Blair's really feeling confident here, and you shouldn't prove him wrong. One of the most experienced drivers in FSR. Definitely not the fastest last year, but he is proving to be back. He's showing us that he still has some life and fighting spirit inside of him. And it's nice to see someone like that fighting for a good scoring position as well.
Mashuli, meanwhile, has already taken that 2 seconds out of Patrick de Witt. I think that's the only close battle at the moment, looking at the timing screens.
Yeah, but
Blair Disley on Di Loreto as well, but Disley has just fallen a few tenths away from the time being. Mashuli has closed down that 2 seconds to de Witt, and he's now challenging for 10th place.
But de Witt started on the medium compound, and he hasn't yet switched to the super softs.
I think he has been in though, so he's obviously
No, he
the tyre
and
problems
he
you
went...
were talking about are obviously meaning he's having to run most of the race on those mediums.
I think he tries to do it strategically, and he tries to jump someone with one pit stop. But it does mean that his pace will be a little bit dramatic, but he's making up for it with dedication. I mean, I have to give him that. I have to give him that. However, it's now Tyen into 9th spot, who's having a difficult time on these medium compound tires. Let's see what his time is. It's 27.8. What did de Witt do? De Witt do it 27.7, so that's not really a big difference there. But now here Eros Mascudi again on de Witt, having a look, but it's nothing but a look. Forces de Witt to go defensive though. For some reason, because there was no way he could make that gap.
No, I don't think that Patrick really needed to go defensive there at all. Meanwhile, Blair Disley is still staying quite close to Enrico Di Loreto. It's not a gap that's opening up, but at the moment he just can't make the move, and we've actually seen that a bit today in the DRS zone. The DRS zones here at Australia are quite short because there aren't really any majorly long straights. Obviously the main straight is quite long, but it's still not as long as some of the others that we have in FSR.
True, but plus the tires of Di Loreto are just 2 laps younger than Blair Disley's, so it's a fairly fair battle in terms of fresher tires. But obviously having that 2-lap advantage, it's something. Oh, Blair Disley going a little bit deep there, having a little bit trouble on the traction. And a lot of drivers are just, sorting their gaps out. Daniel Kiss is slowly but steadily increasing his gap towards from Cuba. It was 3 seconds 7 or 8 laps ago. It's now 5.0 seconds. So doing a really great job there, Danilino. And Brzezinski just following ever closely and just tries to make everything work on this stint. Brzezinski is showing promising lap times: 25.8, 25.8, 25.9, 26.0, 25.9. So he's really giving it everything he's got. Daniel is just 1 or 2 tenths faster each lap. So that's something to be proud of.
Meanwhile, is closing that gap to Danny van der Neet, and that is now pretty close. Helmbro in the ACR car, currently on, I'm just trying to see what tyres he's on as the car comes round the corner. He's on the medium tyre. Danny van der Neet, I think, is also on that tyre, is he? So
yeah, but he's on an older set, I think.
He's on an older set, I think you're right, yeah. So Helmbro definitely going to have an opportunity here as they come through Sector 2. Mashuli, no, sorry, I've thought for a moment that Mashuli got past de Witt, but here's the chance for Helmbro. Down the outside, that's going to be a brave move into that chicane. And
it's not
indeed
happen.
He pulls out of it. I don't think that would have been a very good move to make, because you're not going to get round the outside there. You're more likely to run wide yourself, to be honest, and Helmbro did pull out of it.
The top speed of the Netrix is showing promising, and Helmbro even, he tries to put the pressure on by taking a look, but he ends up overshooting his braking zone and has to shift rather back to second gear as well. So Danny van der Neet is on really old tires, 14, 15 laps for him on this set of medium, so he's really looking for that pit stop in a few laps. I don't think he will defend quite severe, but he will indeed, proving me wrong once again. Then he's showing how it's done. However, his exit for turn 2 is a little bit compromising. Combined with the DRS, this is the chance Peter Helmbro is looking for, but he's on the outside. If Danny can outbrake him this time, he will be able to do it, and he does, but Helmbro spins a little bit. Wow, what an action it has been, and great driving from both.
I didn't know that we had synchronized drifting in FSR as well.
Indeed.
It's almost like watching those Japanese series there for a moment.
Well, nah, it was a really nice driving, but what's really weird is that Helmbro has 8-9 laps fresher tires.
He's got another
Danny.
chance here.
Yeah, he
And
does
he's
have
down
another
the inside.
chance.
That might be
that's
done
really
this
optimistic.
time.
They
Slight
make contact as well. Slight contact indeed, and that's not what Danny deserved, to be honest. But that's how it went. Well, in fair aspect, Danny did leave the door wide open, so no point in not trying for Peter. So good job for him for trying. However, at the front, still unchanged business there. However, Peter did close the gap with 1 second over the past few laps towards Cuba, but it's still 6 seconds, 7 seconds. So
Tyan and Mashuli are both in the pit lane, so this will probably be, I don't know if they'll probably have one more stop after this actually. It depends on what tyres they put on really. I don't think you can make it to the end even on mediums. So they're now coming out. Danny van der Neet into the pit lane as well. Making their penultimate pit stops, and they're both out back onto the track. Jarl Tyan not doing quite as well as his teammate, but he's having a solid race. But Daniel Kiss is now 5 seconds out in front, and what a drive he's put in. We know that Jim Paresis, unfortunately, just to give you a little bit of a recap of what happened earlier on, Jim Paresis was leading this race up till lap 18, but then had a disconnection, unfortunately. It's something that is unique to sim racing from motor racing, and it's not something we like to see, but it does happen, unfortunately. Sometimes we've all been through it at various stages, and unfortunately it happened for Jim today while he was leading the race. He was on pole. But now Daniel Kiss leads, and he was right with Paresis at the start, it has to be said, so he would possibly have had a chance of winning this race anyway, because he was only 4/10 behind at the time of Paresis' disconnection.
Well, does Daniel Kiss still have to go to the medium compound? I believe he does, right?
I believe he does, yeah.
Cuba Brzezinski, let's see. Yeah, he has to do that as well.
I believe the top guy that doesn't need to go to them may be Greco, who was just pitted from 5th.
Yeah,
so he's
Greco
pitted one more time than others now, but of course he started on those tyres, so he will have softs till the end.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe Saxon, but he's already 33 seconds behind. But yeah, I don't think it would be a strategic battle between Daniel and Cuba right now. I mean, if one of them could drive like 7 or 8 more laps, you know, they would be able to have a shot in. But you know, it's either, you know, taking your way to the pits early, which Cuba is doing right now together with Daniel
as well.
Okay, so they're synchronizing their pit stops. What I might have thought is like one guy, you know, overshoots for like 2 or 3 laps, and then they just try to outsmart them at the end, you know, with fresher and older tires. But never mind.
Twister Too Fast For You cars, by the way, seem to be going longer in their stints than others, although Patella's actually come in at the same time this time, but Berliak has gone into the lead.
Cuba's on the super softs. I might have been wrong on saying he already, if he still has to go to the mediums.
Well, I think he'll have to make another pit stop though, won't he? Because 32 laps, we've still got 26 laps to go. He can't do that on super softs, so he may go to the mediums yet.
Yeah,
he might
maybe
be deciding to do a short stint at the end with them.
Let's see what's happening with Disley. Putting the pressure on to Enrique Di Loreto.
So he was a bit wide through turn 1 though.
Yeah, they're still fighting it on. Really good to see. Ooh, Disley losing out a little bit on traction. Is of course into the dirty air, which is noticeable but not dramatically overpowered. So that's really nice. Ooh, a little bit wide. Nice job from Disley here. And if he can carry the momentum in this next corner, and if Di Loreto makes a little bit of a mistake, he might get the job done. He does brake later and accelerates earlier. But it's wait and see for Blair for this moment. But interesting to see between Daniel Kiss and Cuba Brzezinski is that Cuba is choosing to end his last stint onto the medium compound. So it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial for Cuba to make this stint work, and you know, get the 4 seconds straightened up before entering the pits again. Because if Daniel exits the pits for his last stint on the super softs, there's no chance Cuba would be able to challenge for the win with medium tires.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter Helmbro's out. Peter Helmbro has gone off the track and did a Bottas. He did a Bottas.
Yeah, he did. He just ran wide through the corner and smacked the wall.
Almost
not the
collected
rear
that
wing
yellow
off.
Masculi car. Did you see that, Thomas? He
Was that,
almost
sorry?
collected Masculi.
I did, but I was trying to. Fortunately, I am on medication, so it does manage to keep my heart rate down.
Oh, okay, that's good. Well, he's in the 10th scoring, he's in the last scoring position now. 10th place for Eros Masculi. 9th place even, because Patrick YOLO DeWitt is out. Did you actually set that, Sam Jones? He's in the pit. So he's in 10th spot right now. Eros Masculi into 9th. So that's really promising. Starting from last off the grid. And still a lot of DNFs, 8 or 9 to be exact, but not at the front. And Kuba Brzezinski now 4 seconds between Daniel and him. So in the past 2 laps he made up 1 second. That's a good perspective, and he should be doing that because, like I said earlier, he has to close the gap before the next pit stops come. It's the only chance he can win this race.
Daniel Kiss is definitely losing time to Brzezinski. You'd expect that, though, because as Chris mentions, with Kiss on the medium tyres, this has got to be an absolutely crucial stint for Brzezinski. And Brzezinski really is taking a few tenths per sector out. Well, he's maybe a tenth a sector out at the moment. He needs more than that, in my view, because he's on much better tyres in theory. And it is just a tenth a sector at the moment, which I would say is not enough, considering he's on the weaker tyre. The gap between the medium and super soft tyres doesn't seem as big as many were suggesting before this weekend started, because certainly to only be gaining a tenth per sector is nowhere near what we'd have expected. There's not that much pace difference between those two drivers either.
No, well, that is between the two drivers. I mean, the tyre module definitely has half a second, maybe even 7-8 tenths of difference in them. But it's also the pushing. If you really push with the medium compound, it doesn't burn as quickly as the super soft does. It's much more forgiving and therefore more enduring. But in terms of raw speed, I mean, the super soft is really the faster of the two. It's a matter of choice. Am I going to give it everything I have, and do I have to pit 2 or 3 laps earlier because of that, or am I going to be controlled in terms of pace and just keep it together but be faster and have those 2 or 3 laps extra?
We're hearing that a driver is short shifting. We're not sure it is. Sam Jones is just going to Kiss.
Daniel Kiss. Let's see. Let's
Daniel
go aboard
Kiss
with it.
Short shifting. So now that's interesting. It could be to save fuel, because this year there are times when they may have to save fuel. It's only at certain tracks, but very much as they do in Formula 1, you may have to save some fuel to manage to get to the end of the race. It could just be that, so let's not make Xavier de Cavallo, the Mad Cape boss, panic just yet. But I mean, it may be that. But the other reason, of course, would be if you're having engine trouble, and let's hope that it's not that. Kuba Brzezinski, though, is really taking time out of him now. It's down to 3.3 seconds.
But I don't think he's really short shifting. I mean, keeping it together till there, but he's not like really short shifting. And if you really wanna save fuel like they do in real Formula 1, you go off your throttle like half a second earlier and let it coast towards the corner. Yeah. And if you do that every corner, then you have 2 or 3 seconds less of throttle time. That actually saves a lot of fuel. But yeah, those stupid regulations in terms of fuel in real Formula 1 driving me crazy. I mean,
we should explain that we don't actually have to save as much fuel. In F1 they use 100 litres, I believe. We use 210 here, I believe. Is it 210?
215, 16, something like that. But I mean, a lot more. The lap record into the race in Malaysia in real Formula 1 was 134.0 of Juan Pablo Montoya in 2003, and in 2015 the fastest lap is 144.0. It's 10 seconds in 10 years. It's really obnoxious. However, John Eric Saxon just manages to steal another spot away from Di Loretto because he went to the pits. Yeah, he went to the pits. Nevertheless, he did climb another position, and Disley is still not done with this Italian driver that's driving him crazy, obviously. But nice and fair battle going on between them. And Brzezinski taking yet another chunk out of Daniel's advantage. It's now 3.3 seconds, and well, there's only and I say only like 8 or 10 more laps before the pit stops. And obviously the tire wearage of Cuba is going much more heavily than Daniel is, because Daniel is driving conservatively, much easier on the throttle than Cuba is at the moment. And well, it's looking good for Daniel, and if Cuba really wants to win this race, he should be stamping on the throttle right now. But it's also really great to finish second in your first WC season. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, for Origin Front Row Racing, they've got both of their drivers still running. Don't forget, this is their first race in FSR. And Kuba is in second place. Michi Hoyer not having quite such a good time. He's the last car on the lead lap in 13th place. But nevertheless, both cars look like they may well make it to the end of the race, let's hope. And one of them in a very, very good position. Great debut race for them. In fact, two teams at the top. We've got Mad Cape Racing in first and Origin Front Row Racing in second. I don't know about you, Chris, but I certainly wouldn't have predicted that.
No, definitely not. And that's the thing about predictions. It's nice if it's uncontrolled, and it's just, you know, it's going its own way. As Tyan makes his last pit stop of the race, I presume. But talking about predictions, I wouldn't have predicted that David Greco would have had a poor race like this. No disrespect to you, David, but you're driving a poor race. I've seen much better from you as he eats some grass once more. I mean, if you would have said that Daniel would have led the race right now, indeed, I would have called you crazy. But I mean, he's just doing a fantastically great job, same as Cuba.
He certainly is. He certainly is. And this race might not be over yet, because it really depends on how Brzezinski gets these super softs to last. I don't think that he has been on the medium tyre at all yet. We've been checking that, and certainly I don't remember him being on it. We've been checking the pit stops as they've gone through this race, so he will have to go to that medium tyre. And you just feel at the moment he's not doing enough in this stint to be able to challenge for the victory. But we may be proved wrong, and he may find some pace on the medium tyres that nobody's expecting. But at the moment, it's looking like Daniel Kiss has got this all in his hands, and he just has to keep his car clean. He has to keep it steady, has to keep it on the black stuff, and hopefully he'll get to the end of this race. And it would be amazing, really. Mad Cape weren't even sure they were going to be in this division this year a week ago. They might win this race.
True. And well, that's definitely something that Daniel is doing right now. I mean, he's driving controlled. I don't see him making a lot of mistakes. He's just, you know, sorting out his pace, and he's driving one consistent pace altogether. And he's doing a fantastic job at that. However, the difference now is quite... Oh no, that's still 2.8, never mind. So last lap is a 1:25.203 from Daniel Kiss and a 1:25.0 for Cuba. So that's 2/10 right there. And it's not gonna cut it to the end of this race. Daniel knows that, so he knows that his pace is good the way it is right now. And during a pit stop, there's no way he will lose 2 seconds. Except if he doesn't alert his pit crew. It'd have to be a pretty terrible
pit stop, or you'd have to maybe just, well, either fall asleep during the pit stop or stall the car and have to restart it in the pits. That's the only thing that really could cause a long pit stop.
Commentator cursing coming.
Other than damage, of course.
Well, Peter Briljak, in the meantime, third place, driving in no man's land, 10 seconds away from Cuba Brzezinski, 6 seconds, almost 7 seconds to his teammate Mohamed Patel. So he's looking strong for that last podium spot. However, the race is still 19 laps long, almost 18 laps long. And, well, it has to be driven. I mean, it can all be over in a wink. Literally.
Yeah, it certainly can. It's going to be interesting to see when Brzezinski pits for those medium tyres, because the only way I can see that he could maybe win this race now is if he pitted earlier, because the medium tyres would probably be faster as they would be newer.
In the meantime,
and try and get the undercut, because of course Kiss can't pit straight away, because he's got to get to the end on the set of super softs that he'll put on.
Yeah, I want to say Disley is still challenging Di Loretto, who went really wide coming out of turn 11 or 12. You always mess up the numbers with that corner, the fast left right. Nevertheless, it's Disley who still applies the pressure on towards Di Loretto, and my God, what a fight those guys are delivering right now. Constantly towards the limit, and I'm sure they're enjoying it. So DRS once more for Blair. Will get him a little bit closer, but not into striking distance. So super softs on both cars.
Close, though.
Well, he has to have a little bit of luck, this Blair Disley, but he's already driving a superb race. I mean, much better than he would have hoped for last year. So good job from him. 2.1 seconds now the gap between Danilinho and Cuba Cigar Brzezinski. So that's with 5-6 laps to go before the pit stop window opens. Yeah, what might be a possibility? What might be a possibility is that Cuba will pit earlier, like he will do in 1 or 2 laps, and think, okay, now I have to pressure tires, now I, have to do it, and Daniel has to follow me with 16 laps to go on the super softs. Might be a possibility, because if he pits now and goes on to the medium tires, he's most likely quicker than Daniel, who has 10 laps all tires, right? So
yeah,
might be a smart thing of Cuba to do right now.
That's what I mentioned that a few minutes ago. In fact, Brzezinski, yeah, that would be for me the ideal thing for him to do, because those super soft tyres will only last. They'll last better because we're on lower fuel now, but nevertheless, they're probably going to last 12, 13 laps.
Doable.
If Brzezinski comes in, he might be able to get that undercut, and then he can hold on
should go to the pit. Right now, he should go to the pit and leave the choice with Daniel. There's 1.9 seconds there, so enough room for Daniel to panic a little bit. He's coming into side of Brzezinski. If he goes to the pits right now, he might have the advantage. Because Daniel might feel like, okay, I have to do 2 or 3 more laps. And in those 2 or 3 more laps, Brzezinski could easily undercut him with fresh tires, even though they are mediums. So I'm really curious if Cuba knows this. He's slacking off a little bit from the racing lines. He's still improving his times.
Well, the thing is, does he know what tyres Daniel is on?
Yeah, he's going in. He's going in. Good job, Cuba. There we go. The race is on. Smart guy here. Smart guy. I mean, I have the fortune of just sitting here and thinking about the strategy. He's racing and doing the smartest thing. So if he goes to super soft now, I mean, he's
it's definitely mediums. Now this is interesting.
I know, but if he would have thrown his own glasses in. This is really interesting indeed. Daniel, he can afford to stay out 1 or 2 more laps.
Well, he's got to, hasn't he? Because this is the thing. What Kuba's done now is given Daniel no choice. Because if Daniel pits, he'd have to go to the medium tyres, which of course he could do to cover Kuba
as well. Yeah, that's a really fair point.
But it does force Daniel Kiss to make a decision now. Does he stay out so that he gets to the point where he can get the super softs home, or does he come in now for the medium tyres and cover Kuba Brzezinski? That's the decision that he has to make, and he has to make it quickly.
Indeed he does, because Cuba is driving his lungs out. And Daniel is already doing a nice fast inlap, but he has a little bit of pressure because of a back marker in front of him. And I don't know who it is, I don't want to know. I mean, Daniel will most likely go into the pits as well. Will he cover with the medium compound, or will he just go pure rogue, or will he stay out? He stays out. He stays out for now. What's going to happen with Jon-Erik Saxon and Di Loretto?
Saxon's being passed by Disley and Di Loretto. They're all 3 of them together, actually. This is getting very close indeed. And Jon-Erik Saxon is in... He's run wide. Di Loretto's got away a little bit.
Going wide as well. Holy moly, those guys still haven't thrown in the towel. And why should they? But they still have to make 1 more pit stop. So I think if Blair, with all his experience, goes to the pits now, the window is open for super softs as well to go in. He's not going to, though.
No, he's not. And Jon-Erik Saxon and Blair Disley. So Saxon ran wide out of the chicane, and that allowed Di Loretto through. Saxon is now under pressure from Blair Disley, and in this next DRS zone down towards turn 3 could be under real pressure, because Disley's going to have the DRS wide open as he comes down. He's going to have to go to the outside, so he's going to have to get it done on the outside, but is he going to get it? Blair Disley's really late on the brakes and goes to the outside, but Saxon holds it for the time being, and he manages to keep the place through turn 4.
Yeah,
but it was
Blair had
close.
no choice. Blair should have let him go. There was no choice of getting into that corner. Oh, Blair Disley a little bit onto the grass, a little bit wide. Maybe that was a little bit of a lag, but it seemed like he was going off. However, what I wanted to say a minute ago, Cuba Brzezinski in sector 1 alone took out 2/10 of Daniel Kiss. Daniel Kiss hasn't gone to the pits right now, so he continues on. Daniel Kiss's lap time now is a 1:26.197, so basically 1:26.2. Cuba Brzezinski, let's see what he is going to do now. So 1:26.2 to beat for him. He does a 1:25.0. So that's 1.2 seconds he got out of Daniel Kiss. Daniel Kiss, he like you said, he could have covered with a medium compound. He would have been completely safe.
He would, but maybe he'll feel confident that he can make the overtake on the new super soft tyres at the end.
That's more pressure in the end.
I agree with you. I would personally have covered and done the medium tyre, but that's what he's chosen to do. Anyway, Greco's been in the pit lane. He's down to 7 now. John-Eric Saxon also in the pits and is switching for the last stint on super soft tyres, so obviously feels he can get 14 laps out of them. So Daniel Kiss may be in this next time around based on the fact that these guys feel they can get through to the end.
He has to. I mean, it's 13 laps after this. Everyone can drive 13 laps with this fuel load. He has what, like 60 liters remaining in his tanks? 70 maybe? I mean, it's easy to finish the race on super softs there. But he wants to still have some fighting momentum there. Let's see what he is doing. He is going to the pits, but I think Cuba is going to jump him. I bet my money on Cuba. There he goes. There we go. Sam Jones says
sure that he can make
super softs will win. Phil Smythe Sam here, making predictions.
And he is on the super softs, but the problem is, as you said, Chris, it's just that pressure.
No, I don't care. Wait. Here comes Cuba. Here comes Cuba. Daniel Kiss enters the pit lane. Cuba is going to jump him. Be it on the medium compound, but at least he is in front. He can now choose the racing line. Cuba is a great defender. The pressure now is on Daniel to make a move.
And I agree with you, Chris, because this is the point. Daniel Kiss, yes, it should be easy for him to make that overtake, but it just creates the possibility of an incident. It just creates the possibility of, Brzezinski defending really well and not being able to get past. Surely it would have just been safer to come in on the medium tyres the lap after Brzezinski, and in that way, then you could you definitely win the race, almost certainly.
Yeah, but it's really epic that it didn't went that way. It's the decision making of Daniel to stay out longer and still have the advantage of the super soft during this stint. However, the race is 13 laps long. If Daniel Kiss didn't have an attempt in 5-6 laps going, his chances will slim, because that super soft is wearing much more rapidly than the medium compound. However, I don't think that will be the case, because Daniel is already up towards the gearbox of Cuba, and really confident driving here from Daniel Kiss. And it's now Cuba's turn to close the door. Does he have the top speed in this car? That's the question. Daniel will have DRS. Cuba is now in the lead because Brilliak is into the pits. And great defending here from Cuba. And great driving from Kiss as well. He has to step aside and take the long route on. Oh, and they make a little bit of contact. It seemed like Kiss almost made contact to Cuba. What happened?
Yeah, he made a little bit of contact. I think Daniel just lost, maybe when he opened the DRS, just lost a bit of balance. And that made him just touch the back of the car. I don't think it would have caused either of them any damage. But nevertheless, on this lap, Daniel wasn't able to get past. So Cuba defending well there. And this is the thing now. Daniel has just created the opportunity for that kind of thing to happen.
Yeah, and Cuba here driving defensive lines, not so much in this corner right here, but in the previous corners definitely. And that's how you close a gap. And if you don't drive a defensive line, you can cry about dive bombs, but it's never a dive bomb when you leave a perfectly lined gap there. So Cuba knows this, and he knows how to defend, he knows how to race, so does Daniel. So it's really a battle of upcoming giants here. Look at the late braking of Daniel, look at the confidence as well. And maybe it's just Cuba playing Senna games, braking in middle of corners, or maybe a little bit earlier, to get a little bit of unpredictableness, or whatever, if that's a word, into the game. However, here we go again. The DRS will be wide open. Cuba is going rather defensive, rather early. Daniel might be able to take the outside line here. Cuba has to outbrake himself now. Daniel doing a fantastic job and taking the lead back after the race. Daniel Kiss here. what a tremendous show. And Kuba Brzezinski really sporty as well. He knew Daniel was faster through that corner. He knew he was seen, and he was realistic there.
He
so
was.
hats
Blair
off for
Disley
these
is
guys.
in for his last pit stop, and he's left that quite late, actually. Only 11 laps to go. But he will, of course, go on the super softs. No other option at this point, really. You'd be stupid to go for the mediums unless, of course, you hadn't used them yet. So Disley out, and he will be behind John-Eric Saxon, so in 8th place, I believe. And that will hopefully now get him to the end of the race. Patrick de Wit is in 9th, Erasmus Schuley in 10th. That is the point scoring positions at the moment. And de Wit's just come into the pit lane.
Yeah, indeed, he has. And really weird with 11 laps to go. Really, the strategy not working for Patrick, and I think that's all to do with the 2 medium compound stints he did early on in the race. It doesn't lose him it doesn't cost him a position at the moment. I don't know for sure if he's gonna catch Erasmus Schuley. I hope he will, but what about you, Mundy? Do you hope Patrick will catch Eros?
No comment.
Okay. Well, back to the lead of the race. Daniel Kiss is showing that he is far from insecure with driving into the lead. What a move that was a lap ago. And he already has 1.6 seconds. It was 1 second, and only the last lap alone he managed to do almost 7/10 of gap increasement right there. You almost forget that Peter Briljak is driving a really steady race here in P3. You almost forget it, but I remember Peter.
Yeah, he's the fastest guy on track as well at the moment. I don't think he'll catch Kuba before the end of the race, but nevertheless, Kuba's going to have... Don't forget that Kuba's on the medium tyre, so that could get interesting.
I mean, could you imagine that 2 years ago in World Series, Peter Briljak and Mohammed Patel had their hands full on me, and now I've deteriorated to what?
What you're not mentioning to the viewers is you were a lap behind them. You were just causing them trouble.
Ooh, that's not true. That's not true. No, but to be fair, those are some really astonishing drivers who made so much progress over the last few years, and they really deserve to be where they are at the moment. Mohammed Patel already proved that some years of last year. So did Peter, but it's a really strong season start for him with the P3. Although there's still 10 laps to the finish, it's not over until the fat lady has sung.
Indeed, it isn't. That's funny, actually. We didn't hire a fat lady this year. I knew we'd forgotten something.
No,
never mind. We'll have to find one for the next race. Anyway, Petr Burliak is closing down, and he took quite a lot of time out of Brzezinski on that lap. I don't think it's going to be enough. He's got 9 laps to go, and looking at the gap that he's closing down now, I don't think it's quite going to be enough, although it would be kept pretty close by the end of the race. But it's going to be interesting because Brzezinski is, of course, on the harder tyre now, so that is really going to play into Burliak's hands as he gets further through this race, and no doubt he's going to be trying his utmost to try and catch Kuba before the end of the race if he can.
Well, hopefully, but coming back to that song, didn't Mikko Puumalainen once made a song? Maybe he wants to sing at the end of the race.
Maybe he does. I've not seen him for a long time, actually, Mikko. If you're there, Mikko, you're more than welcome. We're always happy for a bit of karaoke.
Well, but Daniel Kiss looking so strong now, 3.2 seconds into the lead. There's nothing, and literally nothing, that will cause him to have a DNF right now, apart from some issue that's not related to his wrongdoing, because he's driving a fantastically strong race here. As Jarl Tyen is going to the pits for one last time, which allowed Michi Hoyer, Herr Michi, back into P12 and Danny van der Niet in P11. I mean, I really hope Danny is going to take Patrick de Wit for personal pride. I mean, Patrick already has a win under his belt. Danny, I don't think he scored a point yet in WC, so really hope Danny keeps the Netrex spirit strong and goes home with a point.
Yeah, Brzezinski just dropped quite a lot of time, and that gap to Burliak is now down to 7.6 seconds, and it's going down a lot. He's just lost another 6/10 to the race leader in the next sector. That's interesting. So that's not good for Brzezinski, and the gap is now down to 7.1 seconds. He's got to be a bit careful here.
Yeah, he's got to be a little bit careful, but I would be really surprised if Briljak would claim P2 here. I would take my hat off, even my monocle, I would take my monocle off for him, but I don't think it would happen.
It's down to 7 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that for you as the last few laps go ahead. We've got just over 7 laps remaining now. It's been a race of attrition, I think that's fair to say. We've had an awful lot of retirements, unfortunately, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. You do have races like this, and a few guys may be a little bit rusty. It's been 5 months since they last raced, so you know it's a long time. No doubt some of them have been keeping their eye in, but nevertheless, it is a long time to go without racing.
Yeah.
That
Well,
gap is now down to 6.5 seconds, by the way, between Brzezinski and Berliak.
That next week, when we have Sepang, obviously, the tides will even be closer, and the racing will even be closer, because now everybody knows where they are in terms of grid position, and they know what's ahead of them, and what to put in. And I think a lot of these drivers will want to look better than today. Gonna be hard for Daniel Kiss to look better, because he didn't do a mistake the entire race. Patrick P10 closing the point scoring position, still riding the curves to the max. Definitely dedicated for this last point scoring position, and can't prove him wrong. It's always nice to score a point, definitely in WC.
Yep, it certainly is. Brzezinski now 5.2 seconds. Looking at the gap, it's 5.8 seconds now back to Berliak. It is coming down considerably. I reckon he might catch him here, Chris. That's going to be, you think that he's only going to get in DRS for then to be a lot easier to close that gap down. It's coming down all the time. We've got 6 laps to go.
He might catch him, but he won't overtake him, I think.
It's now 5.3.
It's not going to happen.
Well, we'll see. With Peter Berliak, I think he might get Brzezinski before the end of the race. Whether he passes him is another matter, but I think Berliak is a great overtaker. So it'll be interesting to see what happens near the end of this race. Looking for other battles, John-Eric Saxon is 2.1 seconds behind Enrico De Loreto. There's a possibility there of a battle, but nothing really coming from that at the moment as they come across the line. It's down to 1.9 though, so maybe John-Eric might be able to get up into 6th place for ACR. That would be a great result for them, so they'll be hoping for that. Berliak has closed the gap down a little bit more now to 4.9 to Kuba Brzezinski. It's certainly going to get tight by the end of the race. And 11 cars now left on the lead lap. Danny van der Neet in 11th is the last car on the lead lap. Michi Hoyer, Jarl Teyen and Norbert Leitner still running a lap down in 12th, 13th and 14th.
I just wanted to say, let's see, who hit the wall, Sam? Teyen. Let's see. So Teyen in 13th spot, already left down, fighting for in no man's land. Well, let's hope he can finish the race. He's into neutral. He manages to keep the car going. Ooh, don't make any crashes. Ooh, Teyen, keep it together, mate. Keep it together. And he almost crashed someone off. Was it Patel? It almost was Patel.
Yeah, Mohamed Patel. Yeah.
But what I wanted to say, Michi Hoyer just got a lap down. I think this is the first time that Michi got a lap down in his Formula Sim racing career. But it's really nice to see that drivers who are, well, mostly lapping other drivers know the importance of getting out of the way once you get lapped. And they don't, make a fuss about it. They go instantly out of the way and let someone go. I mean, consider that to the pro races, you shouldn't get me started. The things that happened there with lapped cars, it was insane. It was just, appalling at some points. But not here in WC. Peter Berliak in the meantime.
Yeah, Berliak just lapping one of the cars. I think it was Michi Hoyer that he just went past.
Yeah.
But he has got that gap now down to 3.7 seconds to Kuba. He's actually been faster than the leader through the latter part of this race as Berliak. But obviously Daniel Kiss is far too far ahead for him to worry about. But with 4 laps to go now, he has been closing down at about a second a lap. He's going to get there, but as you say, Chris, much more difficult to then overtake. But I don't
want to get proved wrong. That's all.
For him. It's down to 3.3 seconds.
I still stick with no, though. You can say yes. I still stick with no. Come on, Cuba. So let's see. Well, Mohammed Patel though 10 seconds behind of Brilliak, and Greco 3 seconds behind of Patel. So will Patel hear something on the radio like Greco is faster than you? I don't know. Greco's not that type of guy. So 6.6 seconds is what's separating Daniel Kiss and Kuba Brzezinski for the lead of this race and the first of the losers. Nevertheless, Kuba is doing a fantastic job, and even a podium spot would be a terrific job for him. And Peter Brilliak is, well, smelling blood though. He is smelling blood. Well, fair is fair. Kuba did lead the race for 1 lap. He tried at least. So definitely a point for trying. But will it be 18 points or 15 points? Or will both of them crash and Danny gets 1 point? You know, it's also an opportunity now. I don't hope so for them. So 2.2 seconds now, Kuba Brzezinski and Peter Brilliak. And Brzezinski just locking up, and it seems like even though he's on the medium compound, he is out of tire life, and Peter Brilliak is, well, using every rule of the racing book, even the unwritten rules that only Peter knows, to keep his tires fresh and conserved. I basically don't see any locking from Peter. He's driving onto the limit, but he's not driving over it here. Again, just smooth braking, and again smokes from Kuba. I mean,
1.8 seconds now,
yeah,
and
well,
he will have 2 laps to go at the end of this lap.
Go Kuba, go!
Kuba Brzezinski will soon have his wing mirrors full of that Twister Too Fast For You racing car. Is it too fast for him though? That's the question. And we will find out very, very shortly.
Too fast for Greco at this moment though. Being beaten by the sister team.
Yeah,
well, no,
he might be watching this back later on.
Well, I hope he does. Hi Greco.
Anyway, Brilliak is down to 1.6 seconds now behind Kuba. And Daniel Kiss 7.7 seconds clear, but that is great for him. He's got 2 laps to go.
Yeah, but Kuba messing up his lines. This is really insane. His lap time now, it's 25.3. The lap time of Brilliak, 24.2. Oh dear God. He has to keep this together, and Brilliak has to be patient still. There's 2 laps, but he still has to be patient. In that 1 lap he might have get a shot in. Dear God. This is tense. In 58 laps it comes down to the last lap of these guys. We've already seen in Pro the finish between Sander Callas and Christoph Schroer. Schroer just being insanely furious with running out of fuel in the last 100 meters that cost him 2nd place. And Sander Callas jumped him on the 2nd place. I don't hope we would see something similar than this. No driver, I wouldn't give any driver 1 liter less fuel. But yeah, this is really something. Peter's already up towards the back of Kuba. Who has to use his head though, Peter, and he is using his head. Doesn't get caught out by the dirty air, even if it's slightly effective. So Peter just
very close though now, isn't it? And Brilliak runs a little bit wide. That might not help. Because he's coming to the DRS zone, so he needs to be as close as he can be, because they're on the last lap. Daniel Kiss has already gone on to the last lap. We'll come to that in a moment as he comes towards the finish line. But Peter Brilliak has got the DRS open, and he's coming down to the first corner. Brzezinski's not got the best straight line speed, has he? Because Brilliak has taken a lot of time out of him, and this might be an opportunity now.
This is the last DRS for him.
This might be it. Oh, he ran a little bit wide, I think, out of turn 2.
The gap isn't there, and he knows it. Peter Brilliak using his head, and he also knows that his opportunity will come if he just keeps it together here. He just has to be lined up for the next corner, like turn 6. After this corner, if he has a better exit here, I'm sure he would be able to park it on the inside, but he doesn't really have a better exit like that. Daniel Kiss in the meantime not yet passing the start finish line. Maybe in here, onto the throttle. Peter Brilliak here almost clinching the wall with his rear right tire, and Kuba just holding the line here, holding the racing line. I mean, this is just insane battling right here. Kuba with the better exit. And we keep track of Daniel, who's in turn 14 at the moment.
He is indeed. One more corner to go for Daniel Kiss, and what a story this is. Madcape, the team that, as I said, weren't even sure they'd be racing a week ago, well, they're racing now, and Daniel Kiss is going to win the FSR Australian Grand Prix. A fantastic drive, and Berliak and Brzezinski, which of them will get to the line? That's the question.
It's Cuba.
It's Cuba. Well done, Chris. You got it right. Kuba Brzezinski takes second place, just Peter Berliak in third, and Mohamed Patel will soon come across the line at fourth, and Brzezinski very happy about that, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely, and he should be. I mean, definitely a nice performance from him. Also from Madcape, indeed, with Daniel Kiss. Madcape it was, right? So, yeah, really something fantastic. Fantastic day for FSR as well, to see so many new names and so many old faces again being beaten by the new names as well. I'm sure Peter Berliak smells that there's more to get from this result. And well, I'm really curious for next week in Sepang, and also curious to see where Morgan Morant will stack up to Daniel Kiss, who has shown to be able to drive completely flawless, completely deserved victory here for Daniel Kiss, and yeah, just a fantastic way to start the season, basically.
Yeah, so let's give you a rundown then as the last drivers cross the line of the finishing positions. Daniel Kiss has taken first place for Madcape Racing Team. Kuba Brzezinski for Front Row Racing in second. Peter Berliak for the Twister Too Fast For You Racing in third. Patel fourth. Then Greco fifth for Twister. Enrico Di Loretto for the BBR for Life Racing Team. Life for Racing. They're in sixth. John Eric Saxon seventh. With a great drive for ACR. Blair Disley in 8th for the GS Engineering team. Eros Masciuli in 9th for Emotion Grand Prix with 2 points. Patrick DeWitt in 10th with the final point for Faster Than Speed. It was a pretty eventful day for Patrick once again. And then everybody else was a lap down. Danny Van Der Neet in 11th. Michi Hoyer in 12th place. Jarl Tyen in 13th. And Norbert Leitner 14th. Unfortunately, everybody else retired. Peter Helmbro went out with suspension damage on lap 32. We also had Marco Conti out. Jim Parisis with that disconnection. That was really unfortunate. Francesco Bigazzi, you might remember with the incident with DeWitt. And then, of course, when he tried to get back going, he overdid his turning round and actually damaged the car himself.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a weak attitude there, but no, nevertheless, that's his choice to make. Patrick was a little bit offensive. Fair is fair, but the stakes are high, and at least he isn't like the driver that lets everyone past. So definitely an entertainer, Patrick DeWitt, and well, I mean, his dedication and his aggressiveness showed to be worthy of a point. Whilst he started almost last in the 17th or 18th position, and in your inaugural Grand Prix, you also get 2 points from Eros Masciuli with your fancy looking yellow car. So good job for you and Eros Masciuli as well. I'm sure he's happy because he started back of the grid as well. So
yeah, of course, because he was a late stand-in, had to start from the back of the grid. So 9th place, yeah, that's pretty good.
But my hat and my monocle are going off for Daniel Kiss here. What a race it has been, and what a perfect sublime job he did. And he definitely turned the face, and the spotlight is now on him and his team. I'm sure his team will participate in the next race, and I'm sure everyone would be happy to have someone like that into the team. But the same counts for Cuba and Peter. Really great job they're doing. And in the end, David Greco with a 5th spot. I think he can be happy with that. That's the maximum that was possible for him, it seemed, because he was often offline. He was sometimes off the circuit even, and just making sloppy errors or something. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing race, and what a way for the season to start. We've seen some drivers who we would expect to be a lot higher up, like, for instance, David Greco in 5th place, and that didn't work out for him. Jim Parisis, of course, he was up the front, but then retired due to that really unfortunate disconnection. It would have been interesting to see where he would have been with Daniel Kiss at the end of the race. It was very close between them in the early laps. But what a race that we've had, Chris. And who's your driver of the day today?
Well, in terms of dedication and recklessness and just pure aggression, Patrick DeWitt. I mean, definitely an entertainer in terms of driving really great and almost flawless. Definitely Daniel Kiss. I mean, what a driver it has been. And also a shout out to Blair Disley. Nice to have him back on a point fighting position and to see him fight as well, and really fair as well. I mean, there was no sense of worrying between him and Di Loretto. Really awesome battles. So we were entertained with quite a lot of figures that are iconic to FSR, and a lot of new figures that made their name shine already onto the top steps.
Yeah, we saw an awful lot as well today of tyre problems and various other things that were going on. And what we also saw was an awful lot of incidents in the early laps. We saw some quite a lot of running wide as well, Chris, this weekend. David Greco, remember, went off twice during the race. He fortunately didn't hit the wall, and it didn't cost him too much because he did finish fifth. But nevertheless, there was certainly some rustiness out there, wasn't there? Not driven for a while, of course, all these drivers.
Yeah, definitely. But now they have to, because next week we are back and the circus is in Sepang on the Tielke, relatively okay Tielke circuit, of
Yeah, probably
Sepang
the best
International.
one, I would say, of the Tielke circuits.
Yeah, Turkey is also nice, but Malaysia, it's not horrible. It's entertaining.
It certainly is, and it will be entertaining next week, no doubt about that. Morgan Moran should be back, as long as he can get a wheel that he doesn't have to take a fire extinguisher to, and that's really what we're going to find out about next weekend. So hopefully we'll see you next weekend. Make sure that you tune in for that, and make sure that you tune in to see who will win the next race. Daniel Kiss was on top of the world today for Mad Cape Racing with their first win in the FSR Thrustmaster World Championship. But will he still be able to go there next week with the challenges that will be coming from Morgan Moran? We'll see. And next week, see you then.